bounce-back win after last week's divisional loss to the Lions. Seattle at 8-5 is on a 4-game run and can stay atop their division with a win. Join Mike Golick and me for all the action on Sunday Night Football.
If it's the NFL, it's on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7.
Omaha's weather leader has deemed today a severe weather day, starting off mostly cloudy, cold, and breezy. Highs today staying in the upper 20s, but after 4 p.m., a chance for freezing rain, which is likely to impact the evening drive home. A winter weather advisory has been issued area-wide from 2 o'clock this afternoon to 9 o'clock Saturday morning, seeing up to a quarter inch of snow for some areas along and just north of I-80, transitioning to rain after midnight. I'm meteorologist Caitlin Harvey with KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Want to give you a heads up, there's a crash block at the left lane on the westbound I-80 exit ramp to northbound I-480. It's also causing slow goings on northbound JFK from F. Everything else is smooth sailing for the moment. Your morning commute should be fine, but if that changes, I'll keep you updated throughout the rest of the morning. Just be sure to buckle up, drive safe out there. I'm Joey Colbert.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Fernando's.
Help someone get their Fernando's fix this Christmas with Fernando's gift cards. Plus, when you buy $100 in gift cards, new and current Fernando's Rewards members get $25 in rewards for 2025. Feliz Navidad from Fernando's. FernandosOmaha.com.
The Season of Performance event is going on right now at Acura of Omaha. Save on more than 100 new 2024 and 2025 Acuras. See all the bargains online at AcuraofOmaha.com.
Morning. I'm starting my health journey with my new blender. I got 2% cash back on it with the new Cash Rewards Plus card from Navy Federal Credit Union. I got unlimited 2% cash back on these carrots, apples, bananas.
It's 6 in the morning.
Oh, I also got 2% back on these smoothie glasses.
I'm going back to bed.
Oh yeah, I got 2% back on the mattress. Sleep tight.
You can earn unlimited 2% cash back on all purchases with the new Cash Rewards Plus card. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
Host is roasting for the holidays.
As we gather together, Host Coffee connects family and friends at this special time of year. May the holiday season bring you joy and the new year offer hope and happiness. Happy holidays and season's greetings from Host Coffee.
Proudly serving Nebraska since 1972. Host Coffee is roasting for the holidays for you.
Hi, I'm Trooper Ty with the Nebraska State Patrol. Winter weather can create dangerous driving conditions on Nebraska roadways. It's critical that you understand the conditions before hitting the road. Nebraska's 511 system provides updates on the road conditions, road closure, live camera views from across the state, and you can even track where plows are on state highways. And if you become stranded on the road, call star 55 and we'll send a trooper to help. Thank you, and drive safe, Nebraska.
This message presented by the Nebraska State Patrol, the Nebraska Broadcasters Association, and the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Howdy, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Nebraska Outdoor Update. Well, it's time for hunting here in Nebraska, and whatever game species you plan to hunt this season, remember safety first. And that means be sure of your target and background before you fire that shot. In a moment, ask yourself, is that a legitimate target? Is the bullet flight path clear? And what am I going to hit if I miss my shot? Be safe. I'm Greg Wagner.
The world's largest sportsbook in Las Vegas is available right at your fingertips in Iowa. The Circa Sports Iowa app is sports betting the way it should be. Bet anywhere in Iowa and experience high betting limits, tight money line splits, and exceptional customer service. Download your new bookie today. Visit circasports.com and start betting like a pro from anywhere in Iowa. If you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-238-7633.
Hey, it's Ashley from Saul's. This holiday, Saul's is the place to stretch your budget and give amazing designer gifts for up to half off retail. We're also buying your luxury brand items to help you freshen up your style this holiday season. Designer gifts for less at Saul's.
The Blue Jays roll into Alabama to take on the Crimson Tide. Saturday night pregame begins at 6 p.m. Tip-off at 7:30. It's Saturday night. The Creighton Blue Jays on 1620 The Zone and 1019 The Keg.
Join Rufus and Pyramid Contractors' month-long Holidays Drive for our furry friends at Scatterjoy Acres. Now through December 29th, Pyramid Contractors is collecting pet food, bath towels, Nutri-Grain, cereal bars, or monetary donations to fulfill their Amazon and Chewy wish lists. Help Rufus stuff the donation box and receive a Holidays Beef Medley treat bag for your furry loved one. Be a part of the Holidays Drive benefiting Scatterjoy Acres. Donate pet supplies at Pyramid Contractors.
PyramidRoof.com, never settle for less.
Step into Dundee Candle, where your creativity lights up the room. Our small family-owned shop offers a unique experience like no other. Imagine crafting your own candles, selecting from a wide array of delightful scents, and adding your personal touch. Whether you're looking for a fun activity with friends, a unique date idea, or a special gift, our cozy, welcoming space is perfect for creating something truly special. Visit Dundee Candle on 50th and Underwood or DundeeCandleCo.com. Let your imagination shine bright.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone. Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. 1620thezone.com and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Matt, and Jimmy.
So this is the hazing, huh?
You're listening to 1620 The Zone here. Gary and Matt. I'm Matt McMaster. Will be joined by
there he is,
our fearless leader. And what'd you say? Sorry, my headphones weren't turned on. What's up?
We started early.
Did we?
No,
We started on time. Listen to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Matt McMaster joined by Gary Sharp, who's out in Iowa.
I thought we were hazing him.
Let's
Let's just start the show. The conditions on the road in Omaha are going to be a little bit difficult here. Later this morning or later this afternoon. We don't need you driving. Okay, we don't need you,
dude. Look, I don't see it. The screen could see me. I felt like Jimmy. Jimmy started patting his left arm and putting his hand on it, saying, "All right, kid, we need an opener. We need an opener
He
here.
asked me,
Come on in.
do you want me to start? I said, hey, it's your show. Do it.
Yeah, you guys started early. I logged in at 6:07 and I hear music playing. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? I can hear Jimmy talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's been a coup. It only took 4 days to get to a coup.
Jimmy started running out of the dugout, and he goes, he pulled the D in. He started going like this. He goes, we need the big and fat guy. We need to bring him in. We need him to start.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How we doing on a Friday? A feel-good Friday, a football fiesta Friday. Bad football last night on Amazon, if you watched it or not. But it is a glorious, I know the weather. Do not focus on the weather. It's that time of the year. Quit complaining. It's 3 degrees where I am right now, and I got bad hotel coffee once again. So no complaining. This is a feel-good Friday, and I don't know what you did to the sports gods, Mr. McMaster, but the sports machine keeps churning out quality sports talk content.
I want to say two things, and I'm going to take full credit for both of them. I came on the show and I proclaimed to the clouds and proclaimed to you how important it was for Nebraska to get a home run defensive end transfer portal pickup. Okay. That happened. I then came on the show and proclaimed, actually 3 things happened. I then came on the show first day and talked about a man named Keoden Davis and how important he is to the Nebraska defensive line and how he's going to be a great player. Despite a scare of him entering the portal, he came back to the team, and now everyone knows his name and now knows how important he is to this future of the team. And then the third thing that I'll take credit for, our Kearney, Nebraska native, who I've been banging on the table for the last year to become a tight end, Mr. Heinrich Harburg, has fully taken the transition to the position. So Gary, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Jimmy, have you met Matt? Matt is a very, very confident young man.
You're very welcome.
That's
very
good.
welcome.
That's good for the young kid.
Where would you like to take us? We're on the road here. We're on the icy roads of Iowa and Nebraska. Where we? I mean, there's so much, man. I mean, we got. How lucky are we for the first week of this show in December, where you think it would be a desert of sports and not a ton to talk about, at least locally. There's a ton to talk nationally, but you're thinking maybe locally there will be grasping for straws and spending a lot of time on things that don't really matter. And this week, so many things that mattered have happened.
Yes. We're going to circle back. I don't want to go home run. I like we're in the batter's box and we look pretty good and we got a hitter's count when it comes to what was added yesterday, because I like production. You're younger. You like what it could be.
Oh,
I like production. Okay?
I like the American Eagle models. You know what I'm saying? I like to walk into the Kohl's store and see, the pictures and see how everybody looks. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You like to go to the dressing room and try it on and put on the shirt and be like, oh, this is what this number's going to look like.
Because sometimes when you go in, and I've learned my lesson. This was a young Gary that would, people say, well, do you want to go try it on? I'm like, no, it fits. It's going to be great. And then you get home, and the next thing you know, you're wearing one of TJ Otzelberger's polos. And you're like, look, man, my man boobs are hanging out, man. This is a little bit tight. My rolls, I'm like, whoa. It looked really good on the rack. See, that's kind of you. You like that. You're like, oh, that's going to look good. Me, as you get a little bit older and you get a little bit more experience and you get a little bit more grit underneath your fingernails, you like the proven production that, you know what, instead of looking at that shirt and going, oh yeah, I've been working out.
Yeah.
I've been asking people where the weight room is. I go and I try it on, and then I'm like, okay, this is a good fit. I feel good, and I got So that's just the difference, and I think it's an age difference.
Well, Gary, here's the thing.
But this is a connection to a kid in a portal. This is wonderful.
I'm hot.
That is confidence.
I'm just a good-looking kid, so I can just kind of look at a T-shirt and be
is
like,
that a poll question?
That'd be, oh my God, talk about like unwavering, lowering my self-confidence, leaving that to Twitter. Let's put 3 pictures of me on the 1620 of the zone Twitter and be like, oh, is this kid good looking?
Ballsy.
Yeah, your confidence goes up and down. It rides the roller coaster. I wouldn't want to do that to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd like to have a plant if we're going to do that.
I agree.
For your confidence, so that you can go about your business this weekend with your chest stuck out.
Honestly, I would buy votes for that. I would go to the Twitter machine and I just start like, it'd be, why is this question of Matt McMaster's hot or not like the most voted on poll in Nebraska Twitter history? What? Why do 70,000 people care about this? And why is 69,000 of them saying he's a good looking kid?
Is this a portal kid the Huskers are at? I don't know who this McMaster is. Yeah. I'll just vote yes.
I'll vote yes.
Yeah. Well,
look.
You're the only kid out of the portal that doesn't get $18.90 money. But go get him, kid.
Hey, Tony White called me a student athlete on accident one time in front of a podium. So, I'll take it. Listen.
Ooh, does that explain some of the issues with the defense this past year? Tony White cannot see.
Okay.
He and Gus Johnson.
He looked at me and he literally said to me when we first met, he goes, you look like an athlete. And I was a little worried. I'm like, well, I'm not. And that's a bad take, coach. But look, you're Sig. You're Signetti. You like your all-conference. You like your all-conference MAC players. You like your all-conference AAC players. You like your all-conference American players. You like your all-conference FCS players who've played a lot of football, who've come in, right? And they're going to immediately have a ton of production and experience. Mm-hmm. In this case, we're talking about the number 7 prospect of last year's recruiting class. We're talking about a 5-star defensive end. We're talking about a kid who, in his second year in development within this program, and with a guy like Terry Braden, who has a lot of experience with a lot of good defensive players and comes from a similar tree that Terrence Knighton came from, the Joe Colin tree, who can immediately come in and develop and be a game wrecker off the edge. And that's something that Nebraska has truly been missing over the last decade. If you want to go down the line of things that this program has been missing from when they were winning, one of them is that just game wrecker off the edge that can blow up a drive, that can blow up an obvious passing down, that can change the tide of a game.
They haven't had that since Randy Gregory. That's been they've had glimpses of it. So here's where and yesterday was a good start for Nebraska in the portal. And this had been, probably if you want to rewind the tape, he should have committed to Nebraska. But he stayed at home with Mizzou, and there was a lot of NIL involved. And I'm not going to blame the kid. And you saw the reaction. Eli Drinkwitz, who was elated when he committed to stay in state last year. But this kind of goes back to how we started this conversation. Again, good start for Nebraska yesterday. Anytime you can get a position of need and a piece in that position which is young and has room for development, and you can see it, and maybe you've seen it, you should be excited. So they get Williams Nuneri to flip from, well, not flip, but in the portal from Mizzou. He went into the portal yesterday, almost at the tail end of our show, and he had a non-contact. So before this is I like to try things on. You like to walk by the buckle and go, you know what? That pair of Doc Martens will look good on me. Instead of being 5'6", I'm going to be 5'7". Before you immediately say, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be a wrecker, I want to know the why. Why did we look out of our depth at Mizzou?
Sure.
Why did we only have 38 snaps? Was it on the field or off the field? But this is where I say this could work at Nebraska, because we've seen players that maybe are great in high school, struggle to get on the field in their initial choice, but have a change of scenery, and all of a sudden things click. And in this case, you cannot overlook the fact of somebody who did not get on the field. And I've watched plenty of his snaps over the last couple of days when it was trending towards Nebraska would be a player because of Jameer Mosey. Is why didn't he get on the field? And he looked a little bit out of place. So, redshirting him probably turned into the right decision, but that's on Mizzou. They probably didn't have a plan for him, but a change of scenery and somebody that is now around you that is familiar with your game, but also familiar with who you are as a person. And I think that also can unlock some things that maybe prevented you from being the kind of player you were as a senior in high school. Why weren't there glimpses of that when you got to Mizzou last year? So that gives me encouragement that he'll come here, change the scenery. He's comfortable. There's a familiar face. He knows that, people are looking at him, because there's a lot of chatter. That was the biggest poll of the portal yesterday. How many times has Nebraska, since the portal has been the portal, had the number one poll in a day? Yesterday, Nebraska had that. So that's why I don't want to say he's a home run, because I got to see it. But I think a change of scenery with familiarity gives him an opportunity to be the kind of player that a lot of people that watched him in high school in Kansas City go, that's the guy.
So I'm going to give the kid the benefit of the doubt in this regard. I think it's really hard to go into the SEC as a freshman, get put out into the field. And I know that he wasn't necessarily playing. I mean, not all of his games were against SEC teams. He played against UMass. But I think it's really easy to go into that conference and that level of play as a true freshman coming straight out of high school and look out of, a little bit over your head. Right. And I think that maybe people can think, well, it's Missouri. Why wasn't he playing right away for Missouri? Because Missouri necessarily isn't one of these massive mega SEC powers like a Georgia, like an Alabama, Florida, historically, not as of late. But Missouri was a really good team this year, and Missouri had a lot of guys. And so I don't think it's necessarily concerning to me that he was a little bit further down the depth chart than maybe you have hoped. But here's a guy, and you talked about Jamar Mosey, the dude who's been pulling the strings behind the scenes, right, in terms of Missouri, right? If you go back, and there was this great tweet from Mike Schaefer, our friend, who we actually will have on later today, who kind of pointed out Isaiah Mosey from, the Kansas City, or all these guys are from the Kansas City area. Isaiah Mosey, he flipped from Oregon to Nebraska. Juju Marks flipped from Kansas to Nebraska. Dawson Merritt flipped from Alabama to Nebraska. And now you have Williams Nwaneri, who goes from Missouri to Nebraska in the transfer portal. Like, Jamar Mosey has been a massive part of this Kansas City movement of getting these ultra talented dudes from the KC area. And I think what this really boils down to, and I think it's the favorite thing of mine that Matt Rule has done with this program, is that he's looked at Nebraska just doesn't have the luxury of being in a hotbed of high school football compared to the rest of the country. They're just not located in the parts of the country like the South with Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, and also towards that Midwest area hotbed of like Ohio and Michigan and Illinois, where there's a lot of these super ultra talented high school players. They just don't have the luxury of being like, well, you're close to home and you've grown up a Husker fan and you should come and play for us, to these guys who are the best prospects in the country in those areas of the country. And so what Rule has done is he's recognized, okay, we need to go and hire guys on this coaching staff and also in these other positions on our staff who are good at their job, who know how to coach the position, who know how to develop guys. But more importantly, for recruiting purposes, we need to get guys who have true connections. We need to go and get guys who have a ton of pull in these areas of the country where the best prospects are, which is why, and it didn't really work out, but the number one thing you think of, or at least the first thing I think of, is the hiring of Bob Wager, right? He hired Bob Wager to be his tight ends coach, not because Bob Wager is this tight end guru.
No, because he has connections in Arlington, Texas.
Exactly. And so then you go and you look at Jamar Mosey, and Mosey was brought in because he has connections in Kansas City, because there's a ton of talent in Kansas City. We need to grab a guy like that and make sure that we're cleaning up that area of the country. Evan Cooper was such a valuable piece to this program before he was let go because he had a ton of connections in Florida. Phil Simpson is on this staff because of his connections in Florida. And so that is what they're doing. And I think it leads to other conversations of, this defensive backs coach that they're eventually going to hire. I would not be surprised at all if they hire, them from a specific part of the country because of their pull in that country to recruit high school players. And so you're kind of seeing with Mosey and Jamar Mosey being in KC, this strategy of hiring guys and hotbeds of the country in terms of high school talent to go and get the high school talent working out for them.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm absolutely in agreement. And we've been so fascinated around here for the longest time about getting into St. Louis. But while Nebraska has not had people on the staff that have, Kenny Wilhite type connections in St. Louis, they've struggled to have any foothold, and there's a lot of teams in there. There's a lot of people in Kansas City. There's a plethora of great players in Kansas City. Absolutely. And this made sense. And also, Nebraska it's not like Nebraska just showed up in Kansas City. I mean, they have been recruiting Kansas City for a long time, and They have had more hits than they have misses. But in this case, you have somebody that is most recent that is coached in high school that either has players that have played for him or he's coached against, or in the offseason, he has been around. So the Mosey factor is real, and it's good to see that Nebraska is using this because they've had guys on their staff where they've had connections and they haven't used them to the fullest. And they've got to play big boy football. And this is big boy football. You know what? Who cares if he has a connection to his past high school coach? He's now at Nebraska. He's on his second school. It's time to stop being an NIL kid because he goes to Mizzou and everybody knows that he's getting the bag. Okay, so hey, there's NIL kid. Now go out there and sack every quarterback on every snap of the ball. It's time to come to Nebraska and play football. But that's why I say the change of scenery and familiarity with somebody that knows your game and knows you as a person, I think can unlock if you had some issues that were off the field. The other thing, though, if Nebraska now in this age of portal, and yesterday was, I think, the first day that I can recall that they were at the top of the list of the best portal pickups of the day, is Nebraska needs their number one portal guy, because I don't think in terms of rankings, they won't have anybody higher than Nwaneri.
Sure.
They need him to hit. It can't be a Gilbert. It can't be a Mazuka. They need somebody to hit that's going to be here for a few years and do what Nebraska has, as you were alluding to earlier, haven't been able to find. And that is a ferocious pass rusher where you go, man, you look at him on the sidelines, you go, that guy's a freak of nature. But then you watch him play football and you go, that's a freak of nature. That's what Nebraska needs. So hopefully this is the turning point, but they need this to hit. If it doesn't, is it a major loss? We'll see, because I don't think they're content with just, we got him. I think they're going to start to ramp it up, especially on that defensive line. But they need that top guy to be that top guy out of the portal.
Two things here. I want to shout out Rob Dvorak. Rob's an awesome guy, the linebackers coach. He's been a hell of a coach. Kansas City is his area. So while we give Mosey a lot of credit, Rob's been doing a ton of work down there as well in KC. So I just want to give a little credit where credit is due to our linebackers coach, Rob Dvorak, for the work he's been doing in KC. I'm not crediting – it's been more Mosey than him, but I'm just saying that's Rob's area. Shout out, Rob. Secondly, you said it, NIL kid, right? Don't be just the NIL kid, go and be football kid. It was really interesting, and I know we'll get into the Rule press conference because it was a hell of a Rule press conference. I mean, I think it was one of the better Rule press conferences that we've gotten in his tenure here as the head coach of Nebraska. He mentions he's worried about the development of college football players when they keep hopping from program to program, right? When you keep going from place to place, he's like, that's great that you're chasing the money, but you're also not becoming the best player you possibly can be. And he mentions, I wonder in 30 years what we're going to look at and see who was more successful, the guys that were at a program for 4 years or the guys who went to multiple programs in 4 years. They're hoping, obviously, with 4 years of eligibility remaining, that Nwaneri is going to be a 4-year guy for them, right? And you don't put this amount of investment and recruiting into this guy without the hope that he'll be a 4-year guy. But I think it's what you brought up, NIL kid. That's exactly kind of what Rule was alluding to, right? We're going to have a lot of NIL kids, a lot of kids who we pay a lot of money to get. You know, Nebraska pays a lot of money to get, or teams around the country pay a lot of money to get, but that doesn't necessarily mean just because you pay them a lot of money, they're in the best situation to play their best football. And I think that this situation with a coach that he's familiar with kids in his area on his team that he is familiar with, and with a defensive line coach with a ton of experience, that this could be the spot where he does pop, where he does develop. And back to your point, he probably should have been a Husker last year. He probably should have committed to this team last year and already had that year of development. But now, you know, and Nebraska is really
But I don't fault him. I mean,
no.
They changed rules in the state of Missouri for high school NIL.
Yeah, that
he got paid in the poll of Mizzou. I don't fault him for that. But now it's time to play football.
Absolutely. And they still got a lot of work to do. I think you and I are both in agreement. This doesn't wipe the slate clean of what you have to do in the defensive line of the portal. Like, you still got to go and get at least another interior guy to go and play. And so I think what would be smart to do is go and get a guy. So they got the American Eagle guy in Williams Nwaneri. They got the Hollister. Oh, it looks nice on the rack. Let me just pull it off and go to the cashier register. Now they need to go and get to the portal.
Jimmy, you and I don't shop at those stores. We're like Kohl's.
Now
we're like Old Navy.
Well, listen, dang it. Why did you talk? I was going to say Old Navy before you even mentioned it.
You do not put Hollister and American Eagle in line with Old Navy.
Can you let me finish my herdism?
Waiting for Abercrombie.
Let me finish my herdism. It was going to be so good. I was going to say, now we need to go and get an Old Navy jeans guy where we pull it off the shelf and then we go into the room and we try them on and we look at them. We go, my butt's a little big here. Let me go back, go and grab another pair of jeans and put them back on. They
literally not something I've ever said about
they need to go and get like a North Dakota State dude, or go and get a guy from Northern Illinois, or go and get a guy from Marshall or Western Michigan or Army, or not Army. They don't transfer, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
that'd be a hell of a poll.
They need to go and get
that 1890 would be on a roll if that was the case.
They do the impossible.
All right, coming up on the show, Brett Cianci is going to join us in about an hour. It is Army-Navy tomorrow. There's a bowl game tomorrow, and then the playoff is a week from today. Plus, it is Heisman Trophy Eve. Awards were given out yesterday. Nice popularity contest. It's great that a lot of people do not watch football. They just look at stats. But that's on you. We'll get Brett's thoughts on many things coming up at 7:30. Mike Schaefer and Matt Verzal as well. It is a great, great day to kick off a sports weekend, because we not only have the football and the portaling going on, you're probably just waking up because you fell asleep during the Niners-Rams game last night. If you missed it, it was a battle of field goals, and the Rams basically ended the Niners season. That felt like Thursday night Amazon football to a T in the elements out in Santa Clara.
That felt like Maction. That's what that felt like.
It felt like college football.
Yes.
That's what it felt like last night. Plus, we have a big, big day around here for volleyball. Creighton is on the East Coast. Nebraska is at home, trying to punch their ticket to the Elite Eight. Later, kicking off at noon, Creighton and Texas go, and then later tonight, Nebraska and Dayton. It is a huge night in Lincoln because at 7 o'clock, Nebraska and Indiana play hoops at PBA. It's on Big Fox. Nebraska is a 4.5-point favorite. 4.5-point favorite to try and win their fourth in a row against Indiana. That's embarrassing for Indiana that they have lost 3 in a row to Nebraska basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing here? Who would have thought that Nebraska basketball has a longer win streak against Indiana in basketball than they do in football?
Well, I was going to say that's like Nebraska football losing 3 straight to Indiana football. I mean, that's the comparison there. I'm surprised at 4.5-point favorite after their
started a 1.5 and immediately popped to 4.5.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
After their performance against Michigan State?
There's 2 things in play here.
18-1.
Nebraska at home, where Nebraska has not lost a home game in 654 days.
Wow, good math.
And Indiana is playing their first true road game, so that factors in a little bit. But a huge night in Lincoln. Also, Creighton is on the road tomorrow against Alabama. It is a banger of a sports weekend. We have lots to discuss. Plus, UNO hockey wraps up the first part of the season this weekend with a series. Omaha men's basketball is in beautiful now 6 degrees in Waterloo, Iowa. Take on Northern Iowa tonight.
Great day to run the
You're
ball.
in a very nicely heated hotel room right now.
Oh, it's 84 in there.
I am in I'm in a suite. It's great. I got the temperature finally got to where I wanted. It's 81 in this room. It is great.
It's a dry heat though.
Are you crazy? 81?
No, this is well known. This is well known. This is well known throughout the Omaha basketball program and with all of our listeners. I don't like to be cold.
Sure.
Like my blood thinned out when I moved south and then moving back to Nebraska, it's never really adjusted, but I don't like being cold. But when I go into a hotel room, the first thing I do, even sometimes with my bags in my hand, I go over to the thermostat and I pump that puppy up. Now, people are on to me because we're on this run with Omaha basketball where I've been on the road 5 of the last 6 weekends.
Okay.
There are a lot of hotels that cap their heat at 78. Homie, don't play that game.
Sure.
I like to get into the 80s. I mean, that's I'm Fred Hoiberg. When Nebraska scores 80 or more under Hoiberg, they're 38-2. I need it to be in the 80s. So I pumped it up to about 81. Right now we're at 79. A little bit chilly last night. I got up as old man P in the middle of the night and I looked at the thermostat and it was like at 75 and I'm like, I'm cold.
That's chilly.
Not that you and I would ever be roommates, but we could not be roommates. I'm the opposite.
A lot of people say that to me, and after a while, you're convinced that all of this fake news about cold, how it helps you sleep better. You actually sleep better when it's warm.
Oh, you do
like a reptile.
You do.
Yeah,
no, you do because your body has to warm up.
Reptiles never die. It's a true thing.
Now, real quick though, I'm not like most people. I'm talking like I'm 65.
I got that you are not like most people.
Yeah, I'm like 65-ish. Like
I want
I'm
icicles.
Because my theory is that, if I get cold, I can put on a hoodie.
Yeah.
Or I can get 4 blankets. If I'm hot, there's nothing I can do about it. Is this like a standard art? Like we don't need to have this conversation.
No, I've been saying this since I was 10.
You've been probably having this conversation for a decade now, right?
Yeah. Damon and I went. We were roommates for the first time, and we battled over the thermostat. He likes it cold. I like it warm. We really had no middle ground.
You couldn't do 75?
I think that was a little bit too warm for him.
Does he know about your place in the summer? And he never turned the AC on this.
Yeah, I kind of turned the AC on.
Even the day it was 100.
Yeah. It's okay.
Are you secretly Latin? Because I'm Cuban. And my grandmother's pretty similar.
I might have some Latin American in me.
You might. I mean,
I haven't checked. What's the thing you go to
23andMe.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that during the break.
You should do 23andMe. You might have a little bit like Spanish in you, because
maybe when my dad was in the army,
Sure.
Yeah,
maybe
that could happen. You got the lineup. It's brought to you by the Rooferees of John Higgins Weather Guard. You can always join the conversation because we have lots to talk about. I mean, lots to talk about. On the 42 Degrees Source hotline, 402-951-1620, or on the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally on this fine Friday, a feel-good Friday with a little bit of football, basketball, hockey, volleyball. Am I missing anything else mixed in? Gary at 1620thezone.com, Matt at 1620thezone.com. Matt does have an email for all the people that send me emails and go, hey, let Matt know.
And my Twitter is
Matt
Matt McMedia too. If you're stop tweeting at Gary and say tell Matt this, just tweet at me at Matt McMedia, MattMcmedia, Matt at 1620 The Zone. Send them to me. Give me your email. Tell me what you think about now.
Yeah. All right, it's a new day, Matt.
It's fun, dude.
It's a new day for you.
We're having a good time, man.
You got welcome to the 1620 The Zone world yesterday.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a great time. And this is a good time. And
you found out the people on the stream that love you.
I did. You know what? I love my people. I love people who comment. I love people who interact, and we're gonna have a good time. I'm not even,
they're gonna become your extended family.
Well, they already are my extended family, man. We're having, we're talking sports and we're joshing back and forth, and
That is an old man term. Good on you. I haven't heard the word joshing in a long time.
I'm an old man.
That's awesome.
Once a show,
this is why we get along.
You look at me with like proud dad eyes, and you're like, "Wow, you really aren't that young."
I do. If I was there, I would hug you.
No, you wouldn't.
I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Are you really that? Are you being like a sarcastic?
No, I heard it a lot when I was like growing up.
Sure,
but I haven't heard it in a while.
You just reached him emotionally.
Oh my God! I might have to go. I might have to go walk around my room here.
Was that like a grandfather? Did your grandpa tell you that term a lot? Because my grandfather told me that term a lot.
I think it was more my dad.
Yeah,
my mom.
This is like a chicken soup for the soul right now. Talking about joshing around.
Oh,
we're back with more Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. See, I can't hear the music, so.
Yeah, we can't play it over.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't know when we're back. So I'm doing things. So hopefully I was not touching anything that is inappropriate for people that are watching on the stream.
You're just clicking your pen. You're okay.
Oh, you've seen this. So this is I do that a lot.
Yeah. Can I say something? Can I say something to you real quick?
No.
I love you. I do. I really do love you. Like you're a good friend. You're a great mentor.
Wow. Before 7.
You've been a hell of a host to like start this week off with. I hate texting you. I can't stand texting you. Here's why. For those
because you're texting me right now.
Yeah. For those listening at home, being like, "Wow, why is Matt getting on Gary for texting right now?" Let me tell you something about Gary Sharp. This guy is one of the funniest people I know. He's also one of the most sarcastic humans ever walking.
Hell yes.
You will never meet a more sarcastic person than Gary Sharp. And half the time you talk to him, you're playing a guessing game of like, is Gary being serious?
Does he
or
mean
is
that?
Gary being sarcastic? And like the ones who are closest to him, like the closer you are to him, the better you play the game of your understanding, like, oh, Gary's just being Gary, or like sometimes Gary's been serious and it's been bone chilling because I'm like, oh, I haven't experienced this in a while, and you have to like lock in. But the problem with you is that you don't turn it off in text. You don't. Like you don't, like you still are the same sarcastic human over text. So it's like it's already hard enough to know what people are texting and the manner in which they're texting in terms of like the mood and the tone and what they're really trying to say.
Head on a swivel.
Now you add that into the fact that you're the most sarcastic human in the world. I don't know if you're being like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on when I text you. I don't know if you're being real. I don't know if you're being funny. And it's the worst. Like I'm an insecure, anxiety-ridden human when I'm texting you because I'm like, is this actually going to happen on the show? Or is he like actually pissed at me?
Are we talking about our most recent texting?
We're just talking about all the texting, all the time. But yes, the most recent text. I know it's the middle button. It's the bottom button from the two ones on the gray thing. All right, I got it. All
we'll
right?
let you practice. Hold
All
on.
right. Here, it's ringing.
All right. Welcome back in. That's anxiety-ridden Matt. I'm sarcastic Gary. Jimmy's at work. This is Gary and Matt on a Friday. Where the world will be much better and it'll come full circle. The Pete Carroll is back at USC. Did you watch the Belichick press conference yesterday?
I didn't catch it.
So everyone has a reaction. That's the impact of hiring a guy like Bill Belichick to coach in college, is everyone has a reaction. Places I went yesterday, what do you think about Belichick? Did you see Belichick? Did you see Belichick looks a lot more calm? Did you see Belichick has joy? And I said, you know what? I would have joy too if I got out of New England. I got away from Robert Kraft. He does look like he has some joy. That's like, he looks like my dad when he divorced my mom. Like all of a sudden my dad gained years and he looked like he had some joy. Now I wasn't on my dad's side. I was more on my mom's side in the whole divorce thing. But I can see when you divorce from somebody, because I was the same way. I mean, like father, like son, all of a sudden you have some joy. So I'm glad that Belichick looks like he's found some joy and he's got somebody younger in his life that keeps him spry. But everyone had a reaction. Everywhere I went yesterday, people had a reaction. Either, can you believe this? Or is this really happening? Is this going to work? So the impact on day one, North Carolina got what they were looking for, and they got Lil Wayne, Matt, to shout him out. That's some swag. I mean, they don't have Eric Church shouting him out, even though he is Mr. North Carolina. They got Lil Wayne, not Lil.
You're telling me how to say Lil Wayne's name? He's closer to my demographic of people that listen to him than your demographic of people that listen to him. You listen to the Bee Gees and the Who. Whoa. I listen to Lil Wayne and Drake.
Hey, I'm from Urbandale. There is nothing more urban than Urbandale.
Fair enough. I did catch the parts of Bill being like, I'm rooted in North Carolina. I've never had a chance to. I know. I do want to talk about it, though. I like the quote from him. I thought it was really funny where he was like, I always wanted to coach college football, but, things were going pretty well over in the NFL, so I never had the opportunity to do so. And then the AD cutting off the sleeves to his suit was a nice little touch. I mean, look, I don't know if this was a Bill Belichick who's been there the entire time and Pat McAfee brought it out of him, or Bill has just completely changed who he is because he knows that this is who he has to be in order to be successful in this day and age. You know, he grew up coaching or came up in coaching in a time where you had to be a hard ass. You had to be mean. You had to be direct. You had to push guys. Now, and I think he found out in New England toward the back end of it, you can't necessarily coach like that all the time. And this is a new generation of people, my generation of people who your generation of people would like to say have been given everything and, you know, need to be are soft and they need to be, you know, coddled and whatnot. And I think that I don't know if this Bill has always been there or this Bill has just been created because he's a smart guy and knows that he has to be this way. But this new Bill, this a little bit funnier, quirkier, you know, shoot the S type Bill that we're seeing is the type of Bill that is going to be successful in this day and age of football, not just college football. And, you know, I'm not surprised to see one of the greatest head coaches of all time, like make that transition in order to be successful.
Yeah, I can't wait for him and Dabo to be at midfield when North Carolina and Clemson play next year.
That's going to be.
And he sees Dabo run down the hill. You don't see that in the old NFL. You don't see Mike Tomlin like sprinting out of the tunnel ahead of the team. I can't wait for his reaction.
I'm shocked that in all the years that Dabo has been the coach of Clemson, he hasn't torn an ACL yet or broken an ankle or like.
Hey, give it time. Clemson's dabbling in the portal. Things can change.
Can you imagine if Mac Brown was the coach of Clemson? I mean, they would have to have an ambulance and a gurney on standby every time he made that run down that hill. Because you know that there's no way that they won't let Mac run down that hill if he was the coach of Clemson.
All right, let's talk to Pimp King here to wrap up this hour on the 42 Degrees Source hotline. Good morning, Pimp King.
Hello, Gary. How are you, Matt?
Don, how are you?
Hey, Matt, by the way, you're sitting next to Bill Belichick. Remember that.
Gary's Bill Belichick?
He's your Belichick.
He is, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
I don't think Gary's dating a 24-year-old,
Play sponge,
but you know, I am, you know, he's the Bill Belichick radio, but thank you, Don.
He
Thank you
is.
for the reminder.
No. Hey, I'm here to help.
I appreciate that, Pimp King.
6:50 in the morning. I'm here to help.
I need as much help as I can get, Don.
Oh, we all do.
What you got for
we
us?
picked up something in the portal yesterday. What was that all about?
William,
literally offline most of the day.
I'll go.
Something good
Gary.
happened.
Yeah, something great happened. Number 7 prospect in last year's recruiting class, Williams Winery, played in Missouri, 5-star kid. He committed to Missouri. Like Gary had talked about earlier in the show, Missouri had to change laws, literal legislation in order to pay the kid enough money to get him to come to Missouri. Eli Drinkwitz, the coach of Missouri, had the funniest and cringiest reaction of when Williams decided to commit to the Tigers, but after 1 year and being redshirted, he is now a Nebraska Cornhusker, thanks to our recruiting unsung hero, Jamar Mosey. That's what I got for you.
Really?
Yes, that's the whole rundown for you, Don.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
It's a big
Thank
gap.
you.
It's a big get.
What do you guys got for me?
What do you got for him,
Ask me a question.
Yeah, ask him a question.
No, because I don't know where this is going to go, because I know your game too well, and it could just derail everything.
No,
I'm eating popcorn here.
So I'm as sarcastic as you are, and I get the text thing. You can't text sarcasm.
You can't.
It's impossible.
You cannot.
You cannot do it. It's very difficult. There's people that try to do it on X, Twitter, or whatever.
Yeah.
With, like types of characters, which
I do my
annoys
best
the
with
hell
you.
out of me, so I don't want to watch it. I don't want to see it. But you can't text sarcasm.
Don,
You have to be in person.
Don, don't you agree that Gary should turn off the sarcasm when we are exchanging text messages?
No.
No.
Okay.
Never.
Wow.
Not at all.
Wow. Okay. But you're just stating you just can't do it, but you're encouraging Gary to continue to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Would you say that it makes the sarcasm even funnier, the fact that no one can get it over text?
Yes.
Okay.
And it pisses people off, and it's hilarious. 'Cause you're like, man, you're stupid. That's how it goes.
It keeps you quick
Like,
on your
if
feet.
you don't catch my sarcasm over my text, that's not my fault. It's yours.
Sure.
There's rules. Yeah, those are the rules. Hey, Don, thanks for the phone call. It's been a while since I've heard your voice, but we have nice sarcasm on
Hey, by
the
the
X.
way, I was full Jackie Mooning it on Tuesday.
Yes, you were. Hey, my friend, have a good weekend.
Thanks, Don.
You as well. Take care, bro.
Hey, thank you. That is the resident Pimp King. Would you like me just to GIF you all the time?
Oh, you know what? We should make a schedule like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays only gifts, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays and Sundays we'll do sarcasm. We'll switch it off.
Yeah.
How about that? Because I like the best of both worlds. I would love to see your gift game. I feel like you have a pretty good gift game.
Maybe someday I'll just show you all my drafts that I have on Twitter that are just locked and loaded, ready to go.
Yeah. I have an okay gift game. I'm good at I have a meme guy.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that is I have a friend of mine who's a digital editor, and when I need a custom made meme, I text him.
Ooh, that's next level.
And I go,
That's
hey, here's a picture of my buddy, and here's the template. And I give him both pictures, and then I tell him the text I want under it or over it or whatever, and he puts that thing together, and then I send it into group chats. Not a joke. I have a literal hitman who makes my memes in order to make fun of people.
That's big time.
Yeah.
Oh no. Look, when you have, I'm friends with a lot of talented digital media people, and I use them only for bad, only for making fun of people, and only for the worst. And at some points, I have paid people to be like, hey, I'll give you $5 to make this like right now because I need them
right in here,
literally. So I got a guy on standby. So don't mess.
Ooh, we could become a meme.
We could become a meme powerhouse. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine that? Just you and me side by side, memeing everything.
There are some of the greatest empires that have been brought down by much harder things. We could bring down things just with the meme.
I
couldn't.
That
could be our legacy.
We should put that in a T-shirt. You're just one meme away from anarchy.
We are one win for Nebraska and Creighton away from going to the Elite Eight. It's Sweet 16 volleyball day. We'll talk about the road for Creighton against Texas. Nebraska has Dayton down at the Bob. Huge day in Lincoln. 7 o'clock Nebraska, Indiana basketball. 8:30 volleyball. And what will another day in the first week of portaling do for Nebraska football? More on that. Plus, Matt Rule and John Butler spoke yesterday. John Butler, very smart man. Very smart man. You might not agree with his hair game and where that's going, but the man is a very, very smart man.
You're in the same boat.
No.
You're a little better. If we're being honest, you're a little better.
Yeah, it's not all over the place. I at least have some togetherness.
Yeah.
But you know what? You never rooted or thought of a coach and if by his hair. If that was the case, boy, you'd be all over the map with the two coordinators at Nebraska and their hair game.
It's bad.
It's Gary and Matt. Jimmy is here as well. Brett Cianci is coming up at 7:30 on this Feel Good Football Friday on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Gary and Matt. Jimmy here as well. I just dawned on me. You know what today is? Don't
What
tell
is
me
today?
it's Friday.
What is 13th?
It's Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th just doesn't hit as well in the month of December like it does in October.
Too cheerful.
I was never like that. Never resonated with me because I'm not a horror movie guy.
Are you superstitious?
No, I just don't like horror movies. It just never interests me. Like that genre. You pick a lot. You pick a lot up from your parents, obviously. I mean, that's just life.
And they weren't serial killers?
No, they weren't really into like Jason or like Michael Myers and all those types of Halloween and Chainsaw
Great defensive tackle in the
Massacre.
late 90s.
Like they just weren't into it. So I never got into it either. I was also the type of kid that like when I went to the movies, if it was too scary of a commercial or a trailer, I would have to like cover my eyes and stuff like that. Like I was just never been into, and also too, like I like movies for the plot. Like you're going to like roll your eyes and think I'm super pretentious, but I love like the Oscar movies. Like I love watching like when there's like when the Academy comes out with this list for like best films, I like to be like, all right, those I'm going to try and watch as many of those as possible. So that's my type of movie. I'm not a big, oh my God, horror Friday the 13th or anything like that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are superstitious. I'm sarcastic. That's how
Are
it works.
you, it's not superstitious. It has nothing to do with superstition. It's just I'm not into it.
No, not you, but Friday the 13th.
Oh,
there are a lot of
sure.
people that
Are you a
avoid
horror
this
movie
day.
guy? Are you a horror movie guy?
I used to be, but the horror movies are not as prevalent as they used to be.
They
Like
don't
back in the day when I was going to theaters and it was black and white, Matt, which or actually people went to theaters. We had there were more horror movies out.
Yeah.
Now they are
you a
few
movie
and
guy
far
in
between.
general? Are you a movie guy?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I got my buddies together when we were in high school and watched Faces of Death.
Okay. Okay. I grew up in a theater. My dad's a massive movie guy, so we would go every weekend. Him and I, 11 a.m., Theater 6, AMC Village Crossing. Like, we'd just go and we'd watch a movie. So that was him. That was our bonding moment.
That is so special. I bet Father's Day is really cool in your household. What movie do you guys watch together?
We go
Lassie? Old Yeller?
So it's funny. We have a list of like Mike McMaster movies. Like there's a list of like these are the movies that, and it's I'm going to tell you right now, there is not one Academy Award winning movie on there. There's not one like absolutely gotta have it like in your top 10. Like he loves Wimbledon with Paul Bettany.
Mm-hmm.
You know that movie?
I do remember that movie.
Loves that movie. He loves
Kirsten Dunst.
He loves I think it's called Nonstop. It's the train movie with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, where it's like the train in Pennsylvania like won't stop and they have to like go and
Speed
stop
on a train.
A little bit. He loves Animal House. Like he loves Animal House. That and what's that movie? Back to School.
With Rodney Dangerfield?
Yes.
Shout out Thornton
Yeah.
Mellon.
Actually, it's been changed to Bill Belichick.
I like that. That was a good one. That was a zinger.
Thank you. Brett Cianci is coming up bottom of the hour. I'm going to give you two numbers to remember because one of the bigger sports days that the city of Lincoln has had outside of a Nebraska football game in a long time. 7 o'clock tonight, Nebraska, Indiana hoops. Huskers 4.5-point favorite, coming off of just an absolute beating against Michigan State. Indiana beat Minnesota. This is a cut line game. This could be a game that the team that wins, when you get to March and maybe you're on the cut line, they're going, man, they did beat Indiana, so you X one out. Nebraska's a 4.5-point favorite. Nebraska has not lost a home game in the Big Ten in 654 days. February 28th, 2023. Last time Nebraska basketball at PBA lost to a Big Ten opponent at home. This is also Indiana's first true road game of the season. That's at 7. And then at 8:30 tonight, around 8:30, because Wisconsin and Texas A&M may go long. It was a great day for volleyball yesterday, by the way. Pitt survived Oregon. All the higher seeds advanced. But Creighton and Texas are at noon. Nebraska, Dayton, I'll say 8:30, 8:45. Nebraska volleyball has won 43 straight at the Bob. This is a day not to break streaks in Lincoln. Great
It's
sports
gonna be
day.
awesome
Great
downtown
sports day
in
in
the
Lincoln.
Haymarket. It's going to be awesome in the Haymarket and the surrounding areas, and it's going to be a heck
You're
of
going
a
to be
time.
there, right?
I'll be there. I'll be at the basketball game, and then we already kind of have a spot at a local establishment. I'm not going to reveal what local establishment because I don't want to get I don't want the mob after me and asking me for autographs and whatnot. So we will be
wings and things.
Hey, just go to Longwell's and say hello to a majority of the Nebraska offensive players.
There you go.
No, we'll go to I'm not going to expose them. That's not where they go anymore. They go to a different spot. Anyway, we already have a spot at a local establishment, so we'll be heading there. We'll be watching the volleyball game. Should be fun. I mean,
This is you're in a volleyball state, and I'm on TikTok, so I've seen Dayton. So Dayton is playing Nebraska tonight.
Yeah.
They are like blown away by people talking volleyball. Like I see their TikToks, and they're showing like certain areas of Lincoln. Like they showed a billboard, like people talking about Nebraska volleyball that are dressed in Nebraska volleyball gear at their hotel, and they're like, "Oh my God, what did we get into?"
This is the McMaster Bowl, by the way. My mother and my brother both went to the University of Dayton, so this is a pretty big day in the household.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you have Flyer fever in the household in suburban Chicagoland.
Yeah, well, dude.
Obi Toppin.
Wait. Where I grew up, a lot of kids went to Dayton. Like Dayton was the second most out of my graduating class in high school. The Dayton was the second largest school that kids went to.
Easy to get into?
No, it's not.
That sounds like it's easy to get into.
It's not prestigious, but it's not like 95%. They also give a lot of money. If it's a like private
money.
school, it's smaller. If you get in, you get a lot of money type deal. So a lot of kids end up going there. I almost ended up going there. Like have you been to Dayton? Have you been on campus?
Yeah, I've done a game at the arena. The arena is beautiful.
Everything there is beautiful. They have a great
very much a Rust Belt city.
Okay.
Dayton and San Diego often get
I'm not
confused
talking
for one another.
about Dayton the city. Dayton the city is not beautiful. Sorry if you're listening from Dayton, Ohio. I don't mean to respect you or disrespect you. But Dayton the city, not great. Dayton the campus, Dayton like the campus bubble, awesome.
Yeah, see, I haven't been to the campus. I've just been to the basketball arena, and then across the parking lot is football. And then across the street next to the hotel where most people stay is their baseball stadium. So I haven't been on the campus. I've just been to their sports facilities.
My brother lived in the same dorm as Thanasis Antetokounmpo. Or no, Kostas Antetokounmpo. The little brother of Giannis. There you go.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Here is Andrew Creighton on the 42 Degree Source Hotline. Good morning, Andrew.
Andrew.
The phones have struck again.
I mean,
was it the phone struck or was it the button that was pushed?
No, Jimmy's pressing the button.
Okay. All right. You've given up that duty, Matt?
I don't want to get piled on top of it.
We're working them in slowly.
Yeah,
I can do it. It's just pressing a button. It's not a big deal. I can press a button.
All right,
It's just
951-1620. Matt wants to press a button.
Jimmy just did it the first time, and I let Jimmy go ahead and do it, and it's fine. It's easier that way because then if something bad happens, you don't have to scold me. All right, so Jimmy will keep doing it.
He'll still
but I'm
scold
just
you.
saying, it's not like pressing this phone button is a magical thing that only you two can do. It's just you just boom right there. We had the same phones at KLIN.
Take a deep breath, Jimmy. I tried to explain to him the 1, 2, 3, and if you push the third, the station goes off the air. And he's like, "Really?
Really? I didn't know
Really?
that.
Really?"
I'm excited. Look, I'm really
Hey,
excited
the heat's
for
on, so we're doing well.
Nebraska. I'm really excited for Nebraska versus Dayton. I like this Nebraska volleyball team a lot because of this.
Because they're good.
Last year,
They're a wagon. They're on a mission.
Last year was this magical year, right? It was this, oh my God, they're so young. I can't believe they're doing it. It was almost storybook, right? It was like they couldn't lose.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way. Like going into that Texas game, they were favorites. Like they were probably favorites to win that game. I mean, they hadn't lost in forever. It was just too good to be true. It was a perfect mix of young players and older players and veterans and whatnot, and they loved each other. That team absolutely loved playing volleyball and being together all the time. And they get crushed in the national championship. And from that moment on, it's like they went from this very bubbly, fun, lovable team to just killers.
But they still are.
They still want
They still are, but
They still
they're
are.
on a whole nother level with their personality.
They got an edge. They have this
Yeah.
edge of like, it's no, this isn't the happy-go-lucky go. We're happy about the stories and volleyball day in Nebraska, and like not that they were focused on that, but it's like they got this little. It's a little look in their eye. You know what I'm saying?
They're
A little
good.
look.
I think
They're
when
great.
you're
They're great.
you're elite and you have personalities, and your head coach allows you to be who
Yeah.
you are, and you're really, really good. They all blend together.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And,
they've got maybe the best player in all of volleyball right now playing in the middle, in Andy Jackson.
She's incredible.
I mean,
She's an athlete. What an athlete.
She's unbelievable, and they're going to have to be really good in that area to get them to win a national championship. I mean, they're national championship or bust. And then for Creighton today, if Creighton beats Texas, that's the greatest victory in the history of Creighton volleyball.
I like the matchup.
And nobody's going, well, you got to face the team that's won back-to-back national titles. You're like, well, I like this matchup for Creighton. They got on the doorstep last year, and they got screwed by a shaky call.
Yeah.
But you know, we know this in the state of the attention towards volleyball. I mean, our own station is having a watch party today for the Creighton match at noon.
Apparently, there's pizza. I might have to stay around if there's pizza.
All right, great day. That starts at noon. It's Sweet 16 day. Coming up here in a little bit, Brett Ciancia. We got to take a quick break because I want to talk about this on the other side about John Butler. John Butler spoke yesterday. John Butler, when he speaks, will make us smarter about the defense. He's very much a high-level thinker, and he said some things that maybe you went, oh, I've heard that before. But there's a couple of things that I know you know, Matt, that you caught, and I did, that make you go, okay, now I know why he got the job. But he's going to make us smarter on how we look at defense, not just Nebraska's defense, but defense in general. So we'll get into that when we come back. Again, Brett Ciancia will join us. Mike Schaefer on portal activity. Who may be out there? Kobe Bretz, by the way, from Westside late last night, put his name into the portal. It's changing it's changing my thinking, and it's not just him. Changing my thinking on in-state kids that come to Nebraska because that's what they're supposed to do. We'll touch on that a little bit later on the show. Matt Verzal as well. Off and running. Glad to have all of you in wherever you're getting us today on a Feel Good Football Friday. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All right, good morning, everybody. It is Gary and Matt remote show. We're doing it for 2 locations. I'm in right next to the John Deere Museum in Waterloo, Iowa. Ahead of
you don't hear the music. We're playing DMX right now, dude.
Oh, I probably just talked. I probably just talked all over it.
Is this what you really want? What you really want,
it is.
man?
It's in the
Let me
system,
know. You know what you really want from me. There was Brenda, Letitia, Linda, Felicia, Dawn, LaShawn, Inez, and Alicia. About 3 Kims, Stacy, and Tracy.
I thought he was naming our coworkers for a second.
Yeah.
What you really want from me?
He would have just named way too many coworkers. I don't think that many people work.
It would have been a Rush song.
I came here on Monday, and I was assuming that I was going to walk around and be shaking hands and kissing babies, and no one was in the office. No one was here. No one knew my grand arrival.
Yeah, it happens. You know,
you'll meet him in March.
When I showed up, I never got an orientation or met anybody. I just walked into the studio and they turned on the microphones. They said, "Here's Jason Peter." Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you, Gary Sharp.
And started the show. But I'm in Waterloo next to the John Deere. I think it's the Tractor Museum, but it's free. I'm thinking about going there later today. But Omaha basketball plays Northern Iowa tonight, and then they get number 3 Iowa State on Sunday in Ames.
Did you catch that game last night?
I did. Iowa State, they look good, man.
I
mean, Iowa looked for about 35 minutes of that game. Iowa played really, really well, and then the last 5 minutes, Iowa State being Iowa State took over and won the game by 9.
Barring anything drastic from happening to Iowa State, whether it be injury or just a team falling out, whatever it may be. I know it's like it's a cardinal sin to say this, but I like them for March. I really like them for March. I watched them play yesterday, and I think that there are 3 things you really need to win in March. You need rebounding. Oh, look at the camera. You need rebounding, you need defense, and you need a team that can close out games. Okay? And yesterday, they played, I was playing good offense. They were running and rolling, but they were playing some good defense really down the stretch. They were rebounding the heck out of the ball the entire 40 minutes of the game. And then down the stretch, they just closed it out. They made big shots. They did what they needed to do. Credit to Iowa, though. Like, Iowa played one of the best teams in the country really, really tough and controlled that game for about 33 minutes. And then the Cyclones kind of woke up and it was over.
I would throw guard play in there.
I agree with that, too.
So Lipsy and Jones are good. They're an offensive nightmare on the glass, and that's Iowa turned the basketball over, and Iowa State, of course, got some stops, but offensive rebounding. Iowa State just hammered Iowa last night. And they're set for a deep run. Can they score against a team that is built likewise with good guard play and big interior players that can close out on the wing? That's my only fear. But I like them a lot to go into October. But I liked them a lot last year.
Yeah,
they just ran into a really good team when they got to the second weekend.
I think with Iowa State, what's impressive about their rebounding is that it's not necessarily 1 or 2 guys. It's everybody on that court, on that floor, all at once. It's almost like 11 hats to a football on defense, right? Like, all these guys are running to the boards, and they're really good on the tips. I don't know if you saw it yesterday, but there was a lot of tips around the basket where the rebound was being tipped, and it seemed like their guards and just their perimeter players kind of knew that was going to happen and then knew where to put themselves in order to grab that ball. It seemed like every time there was a ball in the air, they were the ones coming down with it. And it's like, we talk about it all the time, 50-50 balls, right? If you win 50-50 balls, you're going to win any sort of game, whether it be basketball or football. And if you continue to win, I love it when we're like, well, we lost 7 50-50 balls, right? Well, they weren't 50-50 balls. What they were is that the other team was just better at getting them, and they're so skilled at doing that they, it's a greater chance that they're going to grab it. And watching Iowa State, and Grant, it was the first time I had watched them this year. It was really impressive, just how they were able to rebound the ball, play as a team, and then, like I said, close out that game. They closed out that game against a team and a fan base and in a hostile arena that really, really wanted.
No. There were more Iowa State fans at Carver Hawkeye last night than I can recall. Yes.
Really?
Yeah,
he was
there
cheering.
was.
I will say this. I will say this. The volume was at like 8 last night, okay? Because I was listening to the Rule and Butler press conferences. But it watching it, it
No,
seemed like
there were. So it was when they would do a wide shot, it looked like there were more Iowa State fans there.
Really?
And then they even the Iowa media that I follow on Twitter were commenting that there were a lot of Iowa State fans that got in. Iowa fans, they're mixed about Fran, and their attendance has not been great. I mean, that's a women's basketball school, but in Ames, that's a pretty damn good athletic program.
That is pretty damn good.
I'll get to see up close on Sunday. Brett Cianci is going to join us here in the next segment. Were you so I? It's really more the first time you've heard an extended John Butler discussion, and he's a high-level thinker. I think people that have been around him, that have played for him, have been around him, even in his time at Nebraska, that are not wearing helmets, have great respect because he likes to talk ball. He doesn't BS you.
No.
Okay. He's just going to be straightforward. We're going to talk ball, but I'm going to help you understand what we're doing, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it and be Mr. Cliche. I like that. We're a smart fan base. Don't roll your eyes, anybody. This is a smart fan base that wants to talk football, and they want to be informed, and they like coaches that like to talk ball. So I imagine John Butler doesn't have a social life. I imagine he just likes to talk ball. But one of the things he said yesterday, I don't know that it caught me off guard, but it was interesting in the whole dynamic of why he rose to the top, is that there were current or outgoing players that advocated for him. That surprised you?
No, because I think the attitude within that program is the NFL. Matt Rule has made it very clear when he talks at the press conferences that he wants his guys to go to the next level. He wants his guys to play in the league. And he makes it very clear and advocates for his players on the podium for scouts and whatnot for them to get drafted. It's a program, a developmental program that wants their players to go to the next level. John Butler is by far the most successful coach on that staff at the next level in terms of coaching. He's done it for a very, very long time at a very high level in the NFL. And so when you plant into the heads of your players, we want you to go to the league. You can go to the league. You should be able to go to the league. And you bring in a guy who's been there, who knows how to be successful in the league that they want to go to, and they get that type of coaching, they respond to it. And so it doesn't surprise me that based on the culture that Matt Rule has built and the style and the pedigree of John Butler, that there are guys, even in a very short time of Butler being there, are advocating for him to continue to be in the program.
Well, I don't want to ever hear then, oh man, guys didn't play hard. If you're going to advocate for a guy, you got to back up. You got to have actions that back up your words.
I agree.
I mean, because we've heard this before. How do interim coaches get hired? Oh man, the coaches are beating down the athletic director's office. You know what? There weren't a ton of guys that were beating down the door to Trev Albert's office to say, hey, man, I want Mickey. They were like, Mickey's a great wide receiver coach. There's no way he could be the head coach at Nebraska.
Yeah.
You know, so if you go there and you advocate for somebody, and how many coaches have succeeded? And this is different, head coach to defensive coordinator, but how many head coaches have succeeded where the Raider players was like, man, Antonio Pierce is the guy. And all of a sudden an NFL owner struggles so much with trying to hire coaches that they say, the players wanted him. Now look what the Raiders are. They're a mitigated disaster. After Rich Rodriguez left West Virginia, the players wanted Bill Stewart. Rest in peace. Bill Stewart didn't work out. West Virginia took a step back. But on this level, if players are advocating and, Butler was the number one guy, that probably just reinforced, then I don't want to hear next fall, oh man, the players just aren't playing hard for Butler. That's BS.
I totally agree. Do you buy that? I know we're focusing on Butler, but do you, like Rule said, they interviewed 5 people. You buy that?
He did put some feelers out there. I don't know what the quote unquote interview is, but there were feelers out there.
Sure. Yeah, with Butler, I think it's funny. When I listen to a Rule press conference, I take a lot of notes because there's a lot of buzzwords and there's a lot of headlines and there's a lot of stories to be written. I didn't take a lot of notes when I listened to John Butler. And I'll tell you why. Because there's not a lot of buzzwords. It's a lot of ball. It's a lot of just You ever meet a guy and you shake his hand, you talk to him, you're like, wow, that's a well-spoken individual. Like, you're just impressed by the way they just use words and articulate things and like their vocabulary and whatnot. When I listened to him talk yesterday, that's how I felt. I was like, this guy's he's just a very, very smart dude. I love the quote, I'm an aggressive dude. We're going to be an aggressive defense. And why I like that is because he gets it. Like, teams undertake the personality of their coach. Defenses undertake the personality of their coordinator. And this defense is going to be a representation of who John Butler is as a coach and frankly, as a human. They're going to try and get after the quarterback. And, I think that they're all in agreement, and you and I are both in agreement that, the defense, we all say they took a step back. Well, they took a step back from being like the 15th to 20th best defense in the country last year to more so they were the 23rd to 30th best defense in the country this year. It's really they didn't take as big of a step forward as you were hoping.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good way to describe this defense.
He is a guy, that is very smart, and Rule talked about it, the struggles on third downs. Now, once again, they weren't a terrible third down team, but if you were looking at a weakness of this defense, they struggle to get off the field.
Hey, by the way, that was a subtle jab.
Oh, there was a lot, and we'll get to it with Rule.
There was a Scott Frost jab in there as well.
Okay, we'll talk about it when we talk about.
There might have been a Garrett McGuire and Marcus Satterfield jab in there as well.
There was also a certain tight end. There was a jab at a certain tight end as well.
Wasn't mentioned.
Back to Butler. We'll talk about Rule when we talk about Rule, but back to Butler. That's his job. To me, what I've seen from what Rule said and Butler said, his job is going to be improving the defense on third down. His main job, his main goal, his main objective is get this defense better in third down. Yes or no?
And create havoc. Oh, third down. Third down, they could get off the field in key times to get off the field on third down. Yeah, that was a 2-year problem. Maybe just a month in 23 became a problem in 24. Oh, that's number one. That wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said that out loud. That was something that was pretty prevalent. And even Tony White at times was like, man, we gotta get off the field on third down. We gotta get off the field third down. That's the familiarity of, what the strengths and weaknesses of the guys that are here. And what we did well and didn't do well if you're looking at it from your power chair now on defense. So what has to be fixed. Instead of coming in and looking at film of players you don't know and going, okay, this is what we're going to do. You have a good handle on what ailed you on third down. Why you couldn't get off the field on third down? Was it the scheme? Was it the players? Was it the team you were playing? I think that's where another check for John Butler is familiarity. They went stability and familiarity over whatever you want to define as splash. Because Matt Rule, I think here's the thing I look at this. Matt Rule hired Dana Holgerson for his quarterback and for Matt Rule. He hired or promoted John Butler for the defense. That's what the defense needed. Knowing the personnel and where they are good and where they are not so good.
And this defense too, like, it's a developmental program. It's a program in which there's a foundation being built. There's a standard being set. I think that it's good for this program to bring in a guy who doesn't need to, on the fly, right away in a couple of months, learn that standard, learn that culture, learn the foundation, get to know these guys' names. And John had to do that in July. So let's be fair. Like, it's not like he's been here the entire time. He got brought in a pretty quick situation himself. But he now know, like you said, they chose stability and continuity over splash and sexiness. And you know what? Listening to this guy talk on the podium and listening to what he wants to get done as the defensive coordinator of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, I'm encouraged by it.
Yeah. But it's time for actions. I know we got a lot of time between now and 25 and a lot of press conferences.
Yep.
But it basically comes down to, because there was something also Rule said that I just rolled my eyes and said, yeah, I heard you say that in Indianapolis as well, and you failed on your evaluation of your football team in 24. Don't give me, we've got this, we expect to make a jump. Show me some actions.
No.
That was one thing. But here's what it comes down to. As you finish up the bowl season and the roster, is added and subtracted and forms together, is, do you trust the guy in charge that he has made the right decisions to get to where Nebraska football has to be. That's what it comes down to. You know, it's all about trust right now.
As soon as the players lose trust in Rule loses his job. And that's not a novelty, and that's not exclusive to Rule. That's the truth in any sort of coaching job.
Hey, it's
anywhere,
not, Matt. It's just not fans, or not.
Yeah.
Excuse me, not just players. But once fans lose trust in the head coach, you're in a gots to go situation, and we get right back in the hamster wheel.
And you know what? I think we're closer to that than people would like to admit.
Ooh. Well, we'll talk about that more after Brett stops by. Now you got me thinking.
We're closer to that than you think.
Boy, you just punted the year 3 jump out onto Dodge Street.
I'm just saying.
Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews is coming up next. All right, welcome back in. We'll try and connect with Brett Ciancia. He may be in his full prep for the Army-Navy game, which is coming up tomorrow. The purest rivalry that is out there, Army-Navy, and actually this year might be a good game.
Be a great game this year. I think, two. What'd you say?
Not every year is a great game. The pageantry is great. Sometimes it's not the greatest football, but can we give it up for our soldiers? Army-Navy has had a really, really good season. Like Army has had a really good season.
Army's offense. So I follow this guy named Coach Dan Casey on Instagram. If you love football, he's a great follow on Instagram. He breaks down a lot of, different offenses and whatnot. And he did a lot. He's done a ton breaking down the Army run game and just the different types of styles that they've been able to put into their run game. And just in general, like it's you're going to see this more and more, Garrett. Like the run game is kind of coming back. Like in football in general, the run game is really making a comeback. And you're seeing more teams.
Don't say that to Deebo Samuel.
But I'm just saying, like, you see teams like Philadelphia where they're pulling counters and they're throwing things the other way. They're using a lot of misdirection. You're seeing the Detroit Lions with how they're using Gibbs and Montgomery together and using that beefy offensive line. And it's almost like these new offensive coordinators, Ben Johnson, Kellen Moore, and this is more so in the pros. I know we were talking more college football, but they're getting as creative in the run game as we've seen people get creative in the pass game. And you saw Matt LaFleur earlier in the year when he had to go to Malik Williams, I believe, who was the Liberty quarterback when Love got hurt. And they basically were just running with Josh Jacobs and just using those different Jaden Reed and using those different types of packages for the run games. Army and Navy are two teams that are very much like that are very innovative in the run game. And I think that for true ball lovers, tomorrow's Army-Navy game is going to be incredible.
But let's be honest here about this game. Unless you have a personal connection, last time you watched a full Army-Navy game, there is the visuals of the troops coming into the stadium and the beginning of the game, and then after watching that, it has not necessarily always been great football, and then you drift away, and then if it's close, you come back.
Isn't it like the most watched game or one of the most watched games in college football consistently?
I watch and get sad because that means the season's over.
I don't. To your point, Matt, I don't believe so.
They talked about it a ton in Chicago when I was on that college football show about how much over the past 5 years the Army-Navy game has averaged 7 million viewers. A Sunday night football game gets 7.4.
Pretty good. The visuals are great. The football isn't necessarily that well. It is. Jimmy makes a good point. It usually is the end of the year.
Yes,
and it's standalone game.
It's sad already.
And you watch it, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
But what will happen to, I don't even think game day. I don't think game day is usually game day will do a show prior to Army Navy, and then they'll scoot from either Philadelphia or Baltimore down to New York City for the Heisman Trophy presentation. I don't think they're doing anything this year for this game. And I'm wondering if the playoff attention that'll be a week later will take away from any of the excitement of Army-Navy.
Army and Navy fans were hoping College Game Day would make a trip to Landover Saturday. Oh, it's not. This is on athlonsports.com. Okay.
Because I think Game Day is doing a double shot next week in South Bend and Columbus.
Yeah, they're going to Indiana.
The playoff killed Army-Navy.
I know. That was a really interesting conversation that I'm sure you guys had on.
That's a deeper conversation, Jimmy. That's like a life thing of what happened to the armed forces. If it just took the playoff to kill our Army and our Navy, man, we might be in trouble in this country.
Well, it's funny. I'm pretty sure they talked. I listened to this interview on your show about how the playoff had a conversation about, we're having our selection show before the Army-Navy game. What do we do in the case that Army and Navy are both CFP eligible, but then they still have to play their game? And they just didn't give a rat's ass about it. And they're like, we'll still have the selection show beforehand, before the Army-Navy game, because this would be a game that could determine, if they were both undefeated and had both beaten Notre Dame, this could have been a game that.
No, it wouldn't have. This would have been, actually the game last weekend would have been more important for the AAC title.
No, but if they had won, whoever won the AAC title would have been in the college football playoff game, right?
And then had to play this week in the traditional Army-Navy game.
So then what happens if then both of those games are close and they go 1-1, and then you had 2 one-loss teams that had both beaten Notre Dame, but then you already had the CFP selection show.
This game would, unfortunately,
count. No, it wouldn't have counted. It wouldn't have done anything. But I'm saying that there was a conversation about how the committee had talked about how does this game would affect the college football playoff, and they're like, we don't care. We're doing the selection show beforehand.
Yeah, which is the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just bringing that up. I wasn't arguing anything.
Yeah, I think the conversation was, man, it would take away, instead of being unique, it would take away from Saturday if they both got to the AAC final, because that would be the bigger game.
They'd both be big.
I don't think so. I think if you were playing to go to the playoff compared to, you'd be meeting in back-to-back weeks. This is the whole thing about, gosh, if we have
like that.
What?
I thought that would have been really cool. If
back-to-back weeks of Army-Navy?
Yeah. One for the championship and one for the pageantry. That would have been fun. That would have been, if they were both really, really good and they had beaten Notre Dame and they both were undefeated, wouldn't have been cool for both of them to play back-to-back weeks?
No, I wouldn't have cared about this weekend then. I would have cared about last weekend more.
I think
that's a playoff spot. And all of a sudden, we got an Army or a Navy that's playing to be in the playoff at 12. That'd be a bigger deal to me. And then you get excited. Let's say Army wins, which they won their conference. This week would be like, oh, I saw it. And I think even both programs would be like, it's just like the Ohio State, Michigan. What would you choose? Let's say Ohio State, Michigan play back-to-back weekends, one for the rivalry game, the other, if they're both playing in it, they're probably going to be in the playoff. But, what's...
Well, it would, I would say this, the 12-team playoff would make an Ohio State, Michigan Big Ten championship game more special. With the 4-team playoff, it would have been weird because what do you do if they both go 1-1, right? If they split that game against each other, then you're in the weird scenario of do you put both Michigan and Ohio, which they have done before. They have put both of them in the top 4 in the past a couple of years ago. But now that you have a 12-team playoff, I would say that the game would probably set up the Big Ten championship to be an even bigger game because can you imagine if after
I would hate, by the way, if I was, let's say we're Ohio State and we're in a dream world of Ryan Day where they actually beat Michigan. You beat Michigan in the game, but then got to play them the following week. It's like when Nebraska played Oklahoma at the end of the regular season, then had to play them again in a bowl game.
No, I'm sure it's annoying for the coaches, but can you imagine if, let's say Michigan.
I'd love to be Michigan in that scenario.
Well, listen, what happens if Michigan's 11? They need to win they need to beat Ohio State to get in the Big Ten championship game, and Ohio State was already there, and Michigan won that game at Ohio State, planted the flag in the middle of the field. You have the skirmish going on. You have kids getting maced, and then a week later they got to play each other again in Indy. Would that not be an incredible theater and setup to a Big Ten championship game that would determine a bye in the college football playoff? Would that not make that game more must watch?
It would. I would hate it if I was one of those teams. Like if I was Michigan and I planted the flag and I get to play them again and beat their, what?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be.
I'm talking in perspective.
But both sides see that. But here you got to understand the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. The standalone last Saturday of the regular season is a humongous deal. Yeah, it'd be cool to be in the Big Ten championship and both are going at it. But that game at the end of November is the game. And it would be like, oh, we're playing again. That's why, the powers to be tried to prevent that in the Big Ten because both schools are trying to protect that final game, even though the following week might even be a bigger bump to where you're going.
Sure. Now, I'll say this.
It's going to be a bigger bump when all those Tennessee fans next Saturday night are in Columbus.
Michigan looks at their season and they forget that they were a top 10 ranked team to begin the year and they were incredibly disappointing and they went 7-5 because they beat Ohio State. It seems like the morale around that program right now is way higher than it should be because they won that game in November. So it just goes to prove your point how big of a deal it is, right? At the same time, like my caveat to this whole thing of like I would love for them to play again after the flag planting is because the flag planting happened. If the flag planting didn't happen, I think you would get more of those people being like, I don't, it was such a high from the game that the Big Ten championship, it gets a little bit lower, right? But then because of the flag planting, you would want to see them play again, which, by the way, next year's game in November is going to be insane. It's going to be absolutely insane because of the history now. And if Ryan Day is still the coach, which I think we're all expecting that to be the case, unless they get absolutely thumped at home at Tennessee. If they lose 42-0 at home against Tennessee, then there might be some questions of whether or not he should keep his job.
42-0?
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying a hypothetical. If they get
That's a large hypothetical.
Because
all those Vols fans are going to be in Columbus would enjoy that.
I
heard Ohio State is broken by Michigan. You have the athletic director yesterday who's got to come out and he's got to vote of confidence for Ryan Day. I mean, It's crazy that they're thinking about firing Ryan Day, but I think there's probably a lot of people in the Ohio State fan base who are like, you know what, if we lose to Tennessee, maybe he just has to leave. And he leaves on his own because people are moving him physically out of Columbus. But the fact that Ohio State's athletic director has to implore their fans not to sell their tickets to Tennessee fans, we're talking about the Ohio State, the world-famous Ohio State. Michigan has broken Ohio State. And I don't know who's there to fix it. Not even a win next Saturday night against Tennessee is going to fix it. It's going to have to be a fix if they're still playing in January and they win a title. But that actually happened yesterday, that they are worried that Tennessee fans are going to be taking over Ohio Stadium. What are we talking about here?
During the college football playoff reveal, I don't know who said it. It might have been Herb Street, but one of them talked about it was maybe a disadvantage.
It was Herb Street.
It was that Ohio State was going to be playing at home. And I heard that. And I go, are you kidding me? What a stupid statement. What are you talking about? It's going to be a disadvantage for the Buckeyes to play at home. Until yesterday, when the AD came out and said, hey, don't sell your tickets to Tennessee fans. And then it's just like, wait, maybe he was right. Maybe it is seriously, now, is it going to be a home game for the Volunteers? No, absolutely not. There's still going to be a lot more Ohio State fans. But it's just funny for me to, at the time I thought Herb Street was an absolute idiot. Maybe he wasn't that far off the mark.
Michigan has broken Ohio State.
I couldn't agree more.
And think about it. Football is a game of inches. Ryan Day, they kick a field goal against Georgia. If Marvin Harrison doesn't get knocked out of the game, Ohio State might win a national championship. And then Ryan Day has got benefit of the doubt because he has a title. And Urban Meyer can get out the way. Another problem at Ohio State is Urban Meyer can't quit Ohio State, and Ohio State can't quit Urban Meyer.
For the last 2 years, Ohio State has arguably been the second best team in college football. Last 2 years, second best team in college football. And this guy has won so much and accomplished so much. And yet we're hearing so much noise about him getting his getting fired. I'm telling you right now, if Ryan Day were to get fired,
it's the greatest rivalry in sports, Michigan-Ohio State.
If Ryan Day were to get fired, there'd be a lot of teams who would fire their head coach immediately and bring him in.
All right. We are halfway home. It is halftime. Coming up a little bit later, Mike Schaefer and Matt Verzal. What are you doing?
I'm going to put up the force.
Well, we're going to halftime.
Of the week. Okay. You want the last. Okay, cool. Last hour, we'll put up the force.
Never took a math class, did you? No, that's okay. Us broadcasters, we're not supposed to do math.
I took contemporary math at UNL, whatever the hell that means.
You took temporary math?
Temporary math is what I took. Don't ask me what I learned. Don't ask me what I learned.
My class was called 00 Dumbass, so trust me, I have no judgment here.
It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. By your bobbing and weaving, should I guess the song?
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, a little inside baseball, we're a split show today. I'm on the road with Omaha men's basketball in Iowa, in eastern Iowa, where I saw that they have, like, Al Roker just put up the map, and like the worst weather is going to be here in eastern Iowa later today. Like
ice storm warning.
Ice storm warning. That'll be fun to get stuck in Waterloo, Iowa. But at a split show, I cannot hear the bumps coming back or the conversation that you two are having right now. So I can't hear the music like all of our listeners can. So I see you, whatever you're doing.
This is the beat.
Yeah.
We went off mic because I had to see. I needed to. I know the song. I don't know the name of the song.
And give me a genre.
Classic rock, late 70s, warm sunny day with the windows open, or sunroof, if you will.
So it's like a
Loverboy?
pop. It's like I'll give you the boom,
Working for the weekend.
boom, boom.
That'd be a good one.
You got nothing. You
Ain't
would
seen
not
nothing
be
yet.
you would not be a very good partner in this game.
Ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay.
Like
I
it's
like
this,
that.
it's like a. Is this yacht rock? Would this be yacht rock?
I mean, it could be in there. It's definitely a song you hear in the summer.
This is definitely the type
Perfect
of
day.
like fishing song.
There you go. Yeah.
You know, you'd be on the boat.
Yeah.
But a baby,
It's 11 outside right now, so we're just trying to put this in your head.
So everybody's telling me BTO. Bachman Turner
Yes.
Overdrive. So now I know. So I'm the only one that can't hear the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going
All
to tell you right now.
Maybe the next time you come back, just sing it.
Jimmy's playing bangers right now. Bangers. Straight bangers.
It's Friday. You got to get in the
He's
right
on the
mood.
ones and twos. He's on the it's Friday Jimmy. Welcome to the show, Matt. Just get here.
Yeah, I did. On the out of our last
Literally
break.
did.
On the last break, he was Waterloo. It was that song. It was great. We should do karaoke together.
Only if you can sing Baby Got Back.
I can't sing Baby Got Back.
You could sing it as Richard Cheese. Look it up.
I can sing Cold 45.
Okay. Can you do William Hung? She bang, oh baby, when you move.
I can do okay. I did do Devil Went Down to Georgia one time, and that was great. I got
Kirby. Who doesn't he?
I got a standing O from it.
Hey,
you know,
maybe if we ever have a Christmas party at this company, we'll have somebody. There is a individual that works on the upper floor of NRG, has their own sound system. Yeah, their own karaoke machine that maybe they'll bring.
Is it the Packers fan?
No, but shout out Dan.
Oh, they have a revolving roster up there. I'm not certain which person that is.
Mixing and matching, you know.
A little bit later, Mike Schaefer will stop by. Matt Verzal will drop some wisdom. You want Kyle Shanahan? Think Kyle Shanahan is available? Because the Chiefs have broken the Niners. This is a miserable year. In a must-win game yesterday, they had a guy quit basically in the middle of the game. The pride of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Devondre Campbell.
Yeah.
Their locker room the locker room with the Niners has been upside down. They had some drama with contracts. They've got a diva who drops the ball in Deebo Samuel. They got a decision on if they're going to overpay for Brock Purdy. McCaffrey's been hurt. It's just been a weird year with the Niners from like day one. And then last night, they basically, their season is over after getting beat by the Rams. They just look miserable. Like they don't look like they're having any fun. So is Kyle Shanahan available if like the Bears wanted him?
So two things. Is there such thing as too many superstars on an NFL roster? In terms of culture? I'm talking in terms of I'm not talking in terms of play. I'm talking in terms of culture.
Tell me who the head coach is and I'll answer that question.
Okay. So I think that there you go. Like that probably answers, that's a coverall there, right? Like, because they have a lot of guys who are getting paid, who make a lot of money, who are number one in their position in terms of salary, who think they're the alpha. And when you have 7 alphas like the Niners do, and you're paying them like, or, you know, McCaffrey, you got McCaffrey, then you got Warner,
Bosa.
then you got Trent Williams, then you got Bosa, then you got Deebo Samuel.
Who did you say?
Trent Williams.
Who's that guy?
Oh, he's not playing, but he's there. Trent Williams is a tackle.
I don't recognize Trent Williams. I saw a guy on TV last night that was identified as Trent Williams, and that was not Trent Williams.
He's not playing, but he is a loudmouth. He's making his presence known. I mean, he's the most known injured player right now. And was it your TV just got on? How?
Yeah, no, I was. It switched to just the overall directory. No, Kirk Herbstreit misidentified Trent Williams last night.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny. Good for Kirk. He's been doing a lot of football. Give him a break. Anyway, there's a lot of guys. And then all the funny thing is that I don't know how many of those dudes like really respect their quarterback. And like, because he's Brock Purdy and we have this narrative that he really isn't that good. And I think that's a problem. And I think that there are some dudes on that team who think that Brock is a benefit of the system and that they think they're so much better than Brock or whatever, but he holds the ball and he's the one who puts it into their hands. And I think that, you know, when you're being told all the time how great your coach is and how awesome your coach is and how your coach is an offensive genius, and it's not really you're not really that good. It's your coach who's incredible. You know, I think that affects the locker room too. Would I trade? Do I want Kyle Shanahan to be the Chicago Bears head coach?
Trade some picks.
I would, but like we're gonna have a
two-time Super Bowl head coach,
three-time Super Bowl.
Who doesn't run the ball in the Super Bowl with a lead?
Three-time Super Bowl participant.
Yeah, I give him credit. I avoid his 28-3.
No, I don't. I don't void that at all. You don't get to outlive.
See, he's going to have to, if he stays in San Francisco, they're going to have to deal with the fact that in the offseason, the Niners are going to make Brock Purdy the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
I would get
because they're stuck and they have to.
I don't want, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I don't want to coach that team. They're old, they're hurt, they're expensive.
I got a team.
John Lynch. We're all talking about Kyle like he's jumping ship. If I'm John Lynch, I'm probably jumping ship too. You don't think there's 31 football teams out there that would love for John Lynch other than the Chiefs?
There's 30 and the Dallas Cowboys who will never do anything.
There's like 27 to 26 football teams out there that would love for John Lynch to be their general manager. I'm more interested in Lynch. I would trade picks to have John Lynch be my GM than Ryan Poles.
I'll take Veach instead.
I take Brett Veach too. I take Howie Roseman.
That guy walking down Dodge Street behind you right now might be on the same level as Ryan Poles.
Ryan Poles
to run the Chicago Bears. Well, your problem isn't Ryan Poles. Your problem is Kevin Warren is the general manager.
Well, that's so,
and he's the puppet master.
What did you say the McCaskies?
Well, the McCaskies are. I can say this now because I'm not in Chicago radio. They're idiots.
Yeah, it starts at the top.
Yeah, they're dumb. They went to my high school though, so shout out Notre Dame College Prep.
My owner did not.
We get a lot of money. We get a lot of money from the Chicago Bears.
The Hunts did not go to Urbandale High School either, so
yeah,
Jimmy, we can relate.
Well, no, someone was like told us like we didn't know. The first 3 years of going to Notre Dame, I had no clue that all the McCaskey boys went to my high school, and someone said that to me, and my immediate reaction was, "That's why they're stupid." Like that. That's why.
Bring an endorsement for Notre Dame Prep Academy.
Notre Dame College Prep.
But did y'all win at football?
Oh, we were an awesome football.
That's all that matters.
We were incredible. Like
you recruit?
What?
Did you recruit?
Yeah, we recruit.
That's okay. That's okay. Welcome to Omaha.
That's Ixnay. That's Ixnay on the Ipsay on recruiting here.
Excuse me?
You never heard that Ixnay on the Ipsay?
I've heard the Ixnay on the Ipsay.
And the Ombre, great album.
What do you mean on no recruiting? You're saying that it's not a popular thing?
No, it's a popular thing, but I know that, you kind of I mean, the one time I was on here, there was a little bit of scolding, from like them recruiting and the ability for a kid to go anywhere that they absolutely want to. And then that's imbalanced Omaha high school football, right? Isn't that a thing?
Welcome to 2024.
Yeah.
Until things change, welcome to 2025. You said something when we were talking about Matt Rule. And because I've got Bachman Turner Overdrive in my head now.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What was the comment you made about, so there's the year 3 bump is going to be a very popular thing in the offseason, but the guy that was speaking yesterday who is positive on about everything possible. I do give him credit for that. But there is, when I do watch him speak, I still see an 11-13 football coach. But then to be fair, I also see a guy that I think is different since November 1 in decision-making, the ruthless Matt Rule and the uncomfortable Matt Rule so I can separate them. But what did you say about, because I say trust. You said something that sparked I want to come back to that. You remember what you said?
So I said that once the players lose trust in a football coach,
That's right.
Loses his job. And then I said, we are closer to that than anyone wants to admit.
Okay, so I want to explore this because this is enlightening to me and our listeners. So you think that the trust tree in Lincoln has lost some branches and some leaves, and maybe it's got some ash borer that is starting to creep in. Maybe there's some squirrels that are hanging out.
There is this idea in the Nebraska college football program that Matt Rule and company are going to build this program like they did with Temple and Baylor. Okay. They're going to be, year one's going to be a building block year. Year two, they're going to get a little bit better. Year three, they're going to be great, right? Year three, they are going to win a lot of games. Okay. So you're now, though, at a point where a lot of stock has been invested in guys like Nash Hutmaker, guys like Ty Robinson, guys like Isaac Gifford, guys like Bryce Benhart, and the fact that they are the heart, the soul, the leaders of this team, right? They are the ones to rally the troops on the inside of this locker room. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that those guys are now gone. Okay, those guys are leaving, right? So I talked about it with, I forgot who I think it was Jay Moore. When we had Jay Moore on, I talked about new leaders stepping up to the table, right? And these young guys have been sold on the year three, we're going to be great. Year three, we're going to be great. This is how we're going to build this program. Year three, we are going to rise to the top, right? What happens if they don't? What happens if they don't take that jump? What happens if, and it's like we're sitting here on a 6-6 football team, and next year's schedule is favorable, right? You still have to play some difficult games, against Penn State and against Iowa and against other teams as well. And Cincinnati is, not great, but it won't necessarily be an absolute cakewalk. They're going to compete against you. Like, it's a good schedule, but it's not a walk in the park. Like, what happens if they don't take that massive jump and they're not progressing in the manner in which they believed and they've been told for the last 3 years they're going to? And then on top of that, who are the leaders to steer the ship right back on course if things do start to go south? Because you are losing a ton of the senior leadership. And so I'm not saying,
but isn't that a given? Like, okay, so I'm open ears here.
Sure.
Because again, I see Matt Rule, he's 11-13, but I see a guy that since post UCLA is different. So now he's got me intrigued. I want to see what the next step is. Decision making. The results
aren't different.
The results aren't different, but he only had a short time of 3 games. But the actions of how you correct the previous 9 in this season have me intrigued on what is the next step.
I agree. But
it appears that we are lining up with better decision making that furthers the program along than decisions that don't do anything for the program or set you back. So you have the give and take here of something you just said. The bottom line is I could be coaching Nebraska football and I got to deal with a lot of football PTSD. Okay. That is real. That is real to the core of, oh boy, here we go again. So, but those are the guys that have they were the initial guys this season to stand up in the middle of the locker room. You're exiting out. Now you have younger guys who haven't been infected as much, and maybe they've learned from watching that they don't want to go through that again, but how is their voice? There's the transition into 25, a lot of it revolves around 15. Is 15 the guy in the middle of the room, or is he on the edge? He's going to ball out on Saturday, but is he going to be the guy in the middle of the room when you go into that room and you're down 20-7 at halftime to Cincinnati to say this is unacceptable? So you're losing some veteran guys who have a louder voice, but also have a history. Now some younger guys that their voice is going to have to go from being a little bit of a mouse to louder, and they haven't experienced this run of 4-22 and one-score games in the last 26. See, that's the balance. That's where I'm also intrigued on how Rule handles what you said was the end of an era. To we don't know what Taylor's, and by the way, happy birthday Taylor Swift today, 35. Time to start having babies with old Trav when he retires here in 2 years. What is going to happen? That's what happens, right? You can have kids at 37.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but, you're
going
right.
to be having probably another kid at like 73, so he can have a kid get a coaching job somewhere.
Like Carolina.
But you have not named the new era of Nebraska football, right?
I haven't. No.
All right, we've gone from Vancouver to, we closed in Vancouver on Sunday night. Now we're starting in the Bronx.
Okay, you ready?
On December 28th.
I'll name it.
Okay.
I'll name the era.
All right.
This era will be called the results era. This is what it is. The results era. You need results. You got 2 years to build your program, to set your standard, to get your culture. This is the results era. And if you don't produce results in this era, the era will be over.
It's bottom line. It goes back to something we were talking about yesterday. The faucet needs to be turned on. The dub is the one that's got his hand on the faucet or her hand on the faucet. And if the dub is excited, then it's like, you know what, hot or cold, I'm just going to turn that faucet on and we're going to let it flow.
I want to add something though to this idea.
To my clean water analogy?
Because I think that's
like clean water.
I like clean water.
Probably have bad water in Chicago. The water in Omaha much better than the water in Lincoln.
The water in Omaha and Lincoln are much better than the water in Chicago, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you guys get it out of the river.
So, Lake,
we get ours from Dakota.
Shout out Dave Matthews Band.
So,
if you know, you know.
Oh yeah, I walked by that bridge.
That was crappy.
Yeah, attaboy. I walked over that bridge every day.
You know, they have a sign up there.
I saw the sign, yeah. Nice sign. I lost my thought. I got my thought back. So, everything that we kind of talked about, we've talked about. Everything that we
Squirrel.
Everything we've talked about already, and I think our very
where is that balloon going, Mom?
And our very smart listeners know about the whole leadership and the transition of leadership and the year 3 bump and the 11 and 13 and the change of his attitude after the UCLA loss and so on and so forth. But this Holgorsen hire, this Butler hire, the hires that are more so to do with intelligence and merit and less so to do with them being rules guys and them being with him in the past and them being around when they were successful. My thing is, the reason why I'm saying it's a little bit closer than what you think is because I'm willing to say.
You got me worried here. You know way too much. You got me worried here.
It's a bit of a last stand, I think. Like, if Butler and Holgorsen do not work out, right?
Mary, welcome to Lincoln.
If Holgorsen and Butler do not work out, they're unmitigated failures, right? And it could happen. Crazier things have happened. If it just does not work out, or at least one of them, and they end up being 5-7 or 6-6 again, and then they have to go through this process once again of hiring a new DC or hiring an OC or going through this transition, you're going to get a lot of the fan base rolling their eyes and being like, here we go again. And now we got to hire another guy. And you have to tell us why he's so smart and why he's going to take the next jump and why this guy is going to, help Nebraska get to the next level, so on and so forth. So it's like, you're already getting to the point where you've hired an OC and a DC where you're telling everybody how great they're going to be and you're showing them all their resumes and the merits and whatnot. But if they don't work out, you're going to get a lot of this fan base who are going to lose trust in the decisions that are being made. And when you have a fan base as loud and as loyal as this one starting to lose trust, that will trickle into the athletic department. And when it trickles into the athletic department, it'll trickle into the football staff. And when it trickles into the football staff, it trickles into the locker room. When it trickles in the locker room, do you know where it trickles into? The field. So you're getting to the point where there's a lot of these big decisions being made. And if these big decisions aren't made properly and they don't come out to the results that you're looking for based on your past failures, you're going to get to the point of where a fan base is going to start to lose trust. And so you are one you are a couple bad Dana Holgerson play calls and a couple bad defensive games from this team where people are going to, for the first time, start looking at this football team and say, maybe we don't have the right guy.
No, I think that's already happened.
Yeah. And so, which is why I'm saying, which is all I said is we're closer to that than you think. We're closer to this thing just collapsing in on itself than people want to admit.
I'm not going to go all the way there because I think optimism for 2025 changed with the OC.
Optimism is all they got, Gary.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I'm not going to jump in the boat and start rowing with you there.
They got a lot of optimism. It's the results era.
It is the results era. That's the record reflects who you are. But
it's a lot of optimism. You cannot deny
they have more substance than I think you're giving them credit for. You're basically telling me that they're living on hope.
No, I didn't say they're living on hope. Don't put words in my mouth. I said that there's a lot of optimism there. There's a lot of optimism for a team, for an offensive coordinator whose offense has scored 10 points in 2 of the 3 outings that they've had. There's a lot of optimism that this thing is fully going to turn around. And there's a lot of optimism that John Butler, who has only been a DC once in the last 25 years, is going to fully turn this thing around. There's just a lot of optimism. There's a lot of it.
I don't get the sense of much on defense yet. That's new.
After yesterday's press conference, I think there's
no. I can't engage with you if you're living off a press conference.
I'm gauging on the fans. We're not gauging.
But back to your thing about results. But the offense was so putrid and limited what guys can do that the hire by Dana Holgerson has increased the optimism that this could finally click. It isn't a possible freak of nature pass rusher for the first time since Randy Gregory committing yesterday. It is the guy that's going to be in charge of calling plays, and he's got a long runway to get guys ready before they ever play against Cincinnati. That would be at the top of the list.
Yeah, and it's merited. It's merited. I just made the statement. There's a lot of optimism there. But I'm just saying, you're telling a lot of these players for the last 2 years now, and some of them are just getting there. Hey, year 3 is when we take the jump. Year 3 is when we win 10 games.
Yeah, that's where I push back. There was something yesterday. Matt Rule in Indianapolis stood up and said, I love this team. This team is going to be good. We're going to be really good. What happened? Because 6-6 is not good.
No.
He did the same thing yesterday. He expects them to make a jump. Let's just stop. Okay.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity there, but let's just stop. Okay. And I know you can't do anything about it until you start playing games in 25. And that's what we do. And that's our job. And that's fans as well. You're going to consume a lot of content. There's going to be a lot of wins that are going to come with additions to the roster or things you see. You can't do anything until you play a game on August 30th. But to right now say we're going to take a jump before I actually see it, I have trouble with that because all I can hear is what I heard in Indianapolis. The words didn't match what I saw through 12 football games. If you know the why to that, then we can talk.
I just think that when you sell an idea that you're going to be great in the 3rd year to a lot of people, and that's your selling point to not only the fans but the players, that this is a developmental program, and then there's a lack of development and there's a lack of that jump of results, that's when you start losing trust. And they are very close to losing a couple of games that they should not lose next season in a favorable schedule to that being the case.
We come back, we're in a shift. We'll talk some basketball. It's a big night for Nebraska. They welcome in Indiana. Kenya Hunter going to be back in the house. Former Nebraska assistant with Mike Woodson. Nebraska's a 4.5-point favorite. 4.5-point favorite at home against Indiana. And Creighton is on the road tomorrow at Alabama after they have said goodbye to a couple of players that joined the portal yesterday. That's all to come. We return, plus Mike Schaefer at the top of the hour. Who is next? As Nebraska will have some visitors over the next couple of days out of the portal. That's all still to come on Gary and Matt in 1620 The Zone.
Way away.
Would you believe that I'm playing Seek and Destroy by Metallica?
What was it?
It was a very upbeat poppy song from 2015.
No.
Yeah. I think people would rather hear me rap than you try and describe to me remotely what the song is.
Egyptian.
That's like when my best friend in college and I used to try and sing the beginning of Toxic in college by Britney Spears, but we didn't do the words. We just made the sounds of the beginning.
Hey, thank you, J-Man. Walk Like an Egyptian. The
I did it.
McMaster butchered version.
Walk like an Egyptian.
You want to play with some fake money?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, so the bull season actually starts tomorrow. Let me get the Salute to Veterans Bowl is going on. South Alabama and Western Michigan. Seems kind of soon to play a bowl game, but here we are. Both teams have suffered some significant losses with the transfer portal. So I'm guessing that it'll just be points galore.
Yeah.
But betting on bowl games can be a folly. But if I had fake dollars to spend, I would probably, because there are new faces, and I just said, points will not be a plenty here. I'm going to go the under 57.5. South Alabama and Western Michigan tomorrow kicks off the bowl season.
So in this regard, I would, do you like the Sun Belt or do you like the MAC?
Ooh.
That's kind of my play here. Like when I get to teams,
I think I'm more of a personality of a Sun Belt guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a Rust Belt guy.
It's like, what do you like? Who do you more relate with? Because I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to act like as if I know all the ins and outs of South Alabama football and Western Michigan football and like who to pick here, right? So it's like, are you a MAC guy or Sun Belt guy? I'm a MAC guy. I'll go Western Michigan. Okay. I bet money line. I'm a money line better. If I bet anything, I just bet money line. Call me a wuss. I don't care. Unless I really, really like the spread, I play the spread. But if I bet, which isn't often, I do money line bets.
Okay. Duly noted.
Yeah. Those are kind of just easy. Like it's just way easier to, you win, to win. You just win bets. That's my thing.
Bowl season begins tomorrow. Everybody is excited.
Cool. I'll watch them. It's football. Football's awesome. I'll watch football.
It's holiday programming.
We like football. Football.
I'm not like Jack Mitchell, where I'm standing up on this hill and I'm like, oh my God, I want to watch every single game. I'm just a bowl game guy. Like, I feel like at this point he does it ironically. Like, yeah, if I'm scrolling through TV at a 12 o'clock, like, oh, West Virginia is playing Washington State in the, Hold Your Hands U.S. Postal Service Bowl. Let's just, I don't know. I made that off the top of my head. Not a great bowl name off the dome. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll just put it on.
This doesn't roll right off like the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl or something like that.
Hold
Your Hand Postage Bowl.
Hold Your Hand United States Postal Service.
Yeah. One of the best games I saw in person last year, regardless of sport, was when Alabama and Creighton played at the Chi. It was a very entertaining game. It was a track meet. I had fun. I enjoyed watching that level of basketball. The return game is tomorrow here on the Zone at 7:30 in Tuscaloosa. Boy, do those people know what they're getting into with Bishop being in Tuscaloosa. He better watch himself. But
that place is going to be rowdy.
It will be because they're angry.
They haven't had a home game in a month.
Well, because they played a wild schedule. So they have played Purdue, Illinois, Houston, Rutgers, Oregon, North Carolina, Creighton. They go to Grand Forks for Grant Nelson on the 18th of December. So Wednesday, they fly up to play in a 4,000-seat arena in Grand Forks against North Dakota because Grant Nelson is from North Dakota, who transferred from North Dakota State. Then they still have Oklahoma on their non-con schedule. Nate Oates has played a crazy non-con, but they were in the Final Four last year, and they're a really good team with Grant Nelson and Sears and Fallon. Unfortunately, the Latrell Wrightsell Jr. from Omaha tore his Achilles and is out for the year, so he won't play in this game. This game either will be highly entertaining and there will be a lot of shot making, or I think this game will be one-sided, and Creighton will not be on the good side of this game.
When you lose a guy like Pop Isaacs, right? When you lose a guy who's so important to your scoring, that's tough. That's always tough. But what I think what was the bigger deal about losing Pop Isaacs is that he was essentially your secondary ball handler along with Stephen Ashworth. So not only are you replacing or trying to find a replacement for a scorer, but you need another guy to help run that offense. And it's really tough to put the entire load on Stephen Ashworth, especially when you're playing as high caliber of a basketball team as you are Alabama. Now, Jemiah Neal last game against UNLV did an incredible job taking over kind of that secondary ball handler role, 19 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds. So it's like, can he do that against Alabama? And to me, that's the key. Can Jemiah continue that stretch and like fill in that hole along, that Pop Isaacs injury has created? And then it's going to, look, every Creighton game when they play a high caliber opponent is going to come down to, can Kauk dominate the paint, right? And there are games where it's going to be really easy for him to do that, and there are going to be games where it's going to be really difficult. When you're playing against Grant Nelson, and on the other side of the block, you're playing against Cliff Amore, that's going to be a really, really challenging task for him. And so I think another guy who's now entered the starting lineup because of Pop Isaacs' injury, Mason Miller, is going to have to play one hell of a game in order for them to be competitive. And in what will certainly be a rowdy and just loud arena for this Nate Oates Alabama team, which Creighton, and I know Greg knows this, they got to slow down the game. These guys with the 5-out offense and fast in transition, and they just want to run all over you. They're scoring close to, I think they're over 80 points a game. Like, just slow the game down.
Yeah.
Slow the game down.
You might not be able to do that, though.
I don't think you can.
Like, but Alabama's adjusted offense, Alabama's 4th in the country and they're 5th in points. Yeah. And they're playing at home. This game's gonna be played in the 80s. But can Creighton, without a shot maker, get the game into the 80s? Can Creighton play a game that's in the 80s?
When you play a team like Kansas, right? When you play a team that's very highly rated and you're the underdog heading into it, you're going to need a blank game, right? You're going to need insert name here game. That Kansas game was the Pop Isaacs game. That's what that game was. And that's a big reason as to why they won it.
That game's on the SEC network tomorrow night.
If they beat Alabama, it's going to have to be the Stephen Ashworth game, or it's going to have to be the Jemiah Neal game. And then you're just going to have to hope and pray that Mark Sears, just has a.
He was a dude last year. He had he had 19. It was 85-82. It's one of the better sporting events that I saw last year. The Chai was rocking. It was up and down the floor. It was a big time basketball game, and I don't think Alabama was ranked coming into that game. But Shireman and Alexander played great. Creighton was top 10 team. But I'm glad. It's very unique that Creighton and Alabama are playing each other in a true home and home, and not a SEC versus Big East.
Sure.
But tomorrow night will be a hell of a challenge for Creighton and Tuscaloosa.
Before we move on, because I was listening to these Alabama podcasts, just kind of prepping and wanting to hear what they were going to say. By the way, having these podcast hosts say Ryan Kalkbrenner, one of the guys I was listening to was like, yeah, Creighton's got this tall feller. His name's Ryan. How do you even pronounce that name? Word for word. It was great.
So you played for Coach Bryant.
Chris Youngblood is a guy in Alabama. He's a transfer from Kennesaw State. I think he was the player of the year in Kennesaw State's conference last year, 15 points, just an absolute scorer. Hasn't played yet for Alabama. They expect him. He's fully expected and ready to go. Coach McDermott said at his presser that they're preparing as if he's going to play for Bama tomorrow. So that's kind of another wrinkle for Bama. If they couldn't already get deeper than what they are, they just did.
Man, a big-time football school that plays big-time basketball? Wow.
That SEC conference, man, that whole conference is on fire
Yes,
right now.
because you know why? My buddy Garth Glissman is in charge of basketball in the SEC, and he told those guys, we got to catch up to football. They made some really good hires, but they've also invested. They've taken their TV money, and they haven't just reinvested into football. They've invested into basketball because they can be successful in basketball.
The SEC.
I mean, they do have a couple of schools in that league that are known more for basketball than football. And when they're known more for basketball than football, they're usually pretty damn good, i.e. Big Blue Nation.
They have the number 9, the number 1, the number 13, the number 5, the number 2, the number 25, the number 19, the number 17, and the number 7th ranked team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1, 2, 5, 9 teams in their conference are ranked in the top 25. Absolutely bonkers.
And Greg Sankey is pushing the expansion of the tournament so they get the whole dang league into the NCAA tournament.
Alabama's
72 or 76.
Alabama's a great team. These podcasts that I was listening to were like, yeah, we'll be happy if we finish 7th or 8th in the SEC. Why are you laughing?
Because just the fact that you were listening to Alabama basketball podcasts. I would only listen to Alabama sports talk.
Do you not want me prepared to talk about this Creighton Alabama Crimson Tide game? Is the Crimson crossover not a good enough podcast for me to be listening to in order to be prepared for this?
I just didn't know that there were Alabama basketball centric podcasts. I would figure after Sunday there would be no basketball talk in T-Town.
What do you have against the Going Hard in the Paint podcast? What's so
Is that a basketball podcast?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like a life life hack podcast
or a painting podcast.
Peyton Manning.
Painting house.
Peyton Manning.
All right. So tonight in Lincoln at PBA, again, Nebraska has not lost at home to a Big Ten team in a long time. 654 days. A lot has happened in 654 days.
Co-host, can you believe that?
Excuse me?
I became your co-host.
In the last 654 days?
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
breaking news here first.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yes, you did.
Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that.
Is this the breaking news music?
This is. You're here.
All right, 4.5-point favorite tonight. This is Fred Hoiberg. I mean, that was embarrassing what happened on Saturday.
Yeah,
you already knew it was going to be 8-on-5. You went up there and got punked, and not just like slightly punked. I think Nebraska kind of shut her down in the second half. So you get a mulligan. You get a reset. You've had that happen before. There's part of me that gives the benefit of the doubt to Hoiberg, and I'm glad that he stepped up after the game and realized in real time what the issue was. And I think they've had a hell week in Lincoln, which comes at the right time. I mean, the Michigan State loss and in the manner that they did might actually fall at a good time for Nebraska. Now, you have to back it up. But this is the Hoiberg game. Like he used one of his get out of jail cards with his team. And I'll be curious to see the response tonight because they're going to face 3 interior guys that want to beat your head in on the boards. And, what is the response by Nebraska? And then also, can Bryce Williams please be an alpha?
So you and I haven't really gone into like full in detail discussion about Nebraska basketball before. I don't even think the 2 shows I came in and filled in, we talked about it either. My 2 keys for this team were the same. Like I typically have 3 to 4 keys to the game. 2 of them will always be the same. They will always be the same keys. Number 1 is you got to win the paint. You got to rebound. You got to be physical. Whoever the big men are, they have to play a very good game because that's just how you have to play in the Big Ten, right? That's just period, end of story. If you were going to win in the Big Ten, you have to be big and physical. Mm-hmm. So every single game this year, I am going to say Buchtengel and me and Morgan, when he gets on the floor, have to be performing at a high level, okay? That's period. Like they just have to grab it, and they did a terrible job against Michigan State. Those 3 collectively, Morgan was decent scoring off the bench, but me and Buchtengel were nowhere to be found. I mean, they did not do a good job on the board. So that's number 1. Number 2, I totally agree with you. They have to have a closer. When you get to close games, you have to have someone who can close it out. And we've seen it at times that Bryce Williams can do it, but then we saw it last year in Minnesota when they were losing that lead, and then Bryce was trying to be the alpha and trying to save the game. He was bouncing the ball off his foot and turning the ball over, and they ended up losing a game that for a very long time until they got big wins was going against them in their resume builder. So they need Bryce Williams to be an alpha. They need the big men to play a very high level game. And I'll say this about Indiana. They scored 82 points in their last game. They had 3 3-pointers. That's just all you need to know.
Yeah, they don't shoot the three very often. Like Asijan will have to return, I guess. I mean, he was absent against Michigan State.
They all were absent. All of them were absent.
But the thing about Bryce Williams is in a situation where like Asijan didn't take very many shots and only played 20 minutes and wasn't very good, but he has shown that he can shoot the three ball over 40% in a game. That's where Bryce Williams needs to take over. Like, just if you need to get some shots up, get some shots up.
Yeah.
But be the alpha on the floor where instead of deferring, which Bryce does that really well, and then there will be like a 5-minute stretch where the ball doesn't leave his hands and he's going to go score. But when things are going sideways against Michigan State, I need more Bryce Williams. But tonight, who's the big three? Because Indiana has a big three. Who is the third for Nebraska, if you're including Williams and Asijan? Because Nebraska, if they shoot the three ball well, they're going to win this basketball game tonight, and they probably will cover. If they don't shoot the three ball well and they get beat on the boards, Indiana just will run them into the ground with their half-court offense and how big they are inside, and Nebraska will get in foul trouble and turns into a free throw shooting contest.
The key to this game, I think you kind of know it and I know it, Juwan Gary. Like, he's got to be that guy. Like, he's got to be that third wheel on the bus that moves his team toward victory. I mean, that's just – he's got to be the guy on defense. He's got to be the guy rebounding the boards. He's got to be the guy who's pushing the pace on offense. He's got to be the guy who's finishing physically at the rim, but he's also got to stretch the floor. Like, he has to do it all. And that's the role that he's been put into. And you know what? With his athleticism, with his body, with his length, with his height, and just the amount of experience that he's had, he's able to do it. It's just you need to do it consistently. This team is very new. This is a new team with a lot of different pieces in it, right? Worcester's new, Asijan's new, Mee's new, Buchtengel's new, Morgan's new. You're going to see times where they look like a team that's been playing together for a very long time, like Creighton. Mm-hmm. But there are going to be times where they look like, oh, this is a team with about 6, 7, 8 transfers. I don't know the exact number, but with a lot of transfers. They look like that against Michigan State. They just look discombobulated. And you're absolutely right. The second half they gave up. If they give another effort like that again tonight, you're going to get – it's going to be really hard to get buy-in from this fan base like you got last year.
That'd be uncomfortable. You can have a game like that on the road.
Can't have it at home.
But I think Nebraska being a 4.5-point favorite tells me everything I need to know.
What does it tell you?
It tells me Nebraska is a favorite to win this game. See? I like Nebraska tonight.
I don't.
I have no faith in Mike Woodson the first time on the road.
I just think Indiana's going to be too physical. I could be wrong. I mean, look, I could have said the same thing about Creighton. Could have said the same, like maybe Kalkbrenner, has that big game, and do they really have an answer for him? And the rule that he had been going on and almost scoring 50 points, like I would have looked at that Creighton game and said maybe the inside presence with Kalkbrenner and then their ability to shoot the three from the outside with Isaacs and Ashworth was going to be too much. And I that's probably what I would have said, and I would have been dead wrong. Tonight, go ahead. Sorry, no, I'm good. I'm done.
All right. Mike Schaefer's coming up at the top of the hour. Matt Verzal in the last hour as well. Nebraska and Indiana tonight. That's at 7. Creighton and Alabama tomorrow. Volleyball today. It's Sweet 16 day. Creighton in the light of Mother Nature. Nebraska's later tonight. If both win, they both get a national TV spot coming up on Sunday to go to the Final Four in Louisville. All the higher seeds in volleyball won yesterday. So do what you will with that, with Nebraska and Creighton trying to move on to the Elite Eight and keep alive a chance to be in a semifinal against each other next week in the home of the Kentucky Derby. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy in 1620 The Zone. The song is
Jimmy.
Gossip Folks by Missy Elliott.
Wow, we have gone from top to bottom and right in the middle today. Nicely done, Jimmy.
Yeah.
He's done a great job with the music. He's been
I'm
killing.
entertaining Matt here, so
I
that's
am.
this is what does it for me.
How's your diet on the road? Your diet good? Is it tough to diet on the road? Like,
These guys eat all the time.
Yeah.
10,000
It gets a little bit tough. And we also eat it like the big team breakfast is at 9:50.
Yeah.
9:50, 10 o'clock. But they eat it odd times too.
Like what's odd? What would you consider odd?
So last night coming over here, they go to the McLeod Center where Northern Iowa plays. They go through a workout, and next thing you know, we're sitting down to eat dinner at like 8:30 at night.
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah,
Man,
that's a little bit rough on our schedule.
That's way too and my stomach. I got acid reflux. Like I got to take medicine for my 75-year-old stomach I have. Wow. Like it's tough. Like that'd be rough on the body. What do you for breakfast?
Mine
What do
was
you eat
I
for
drank
breakfast? You
too much.
waffles or pancakes, hash browns?
Probably just a power bar.
Wow.
Oh, I'm about 5 months into a major health kick.
You look good, man.
So I got to go get my 13,000 steps in today, outside where it's 6 degrees.
Yeah.
Or on the treadmill or elliptical. But
what about a
shoot
shoot around?
Powerball?
Are you a shoot around guy? Yeah, that's a good question, Jimmy.
Depends if it works out with the schedule of the show.
You a good shooter? You good at basketball in your
I
prime?
used to be.
Yeah.
Used to be. My vertical has gone way downhill.
Well, you would expect that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's not uncommon.
Damn. I was just gonna say, Hilton, you can walk the concourse, stop by Johnny's.
Yeah, you
place,
can.
and look at Johnny
So,
Orr's.
but these guys, because they're athletes, they eat all the time. So they'll eat breakfast, then they'll go to shoot around, then they'll have like a smoothie or something else when they get back to the hotel, and then they'll have the pregame meal. Then we'll go and play, and then they'll have a postgame meal, and we'll turn around and do it all over tomorrow, and then on Saturday or on Sunday on game day in Ames.
I mean, they're burning like 8,000 calories a day.
Yeah, that's the problem that I learned early when I started hanging out with professional or college athletes.
Yeah.
The radio guy or the media relations guy does not burn as many calories.
Maybe you should join the team. Do you have any eligibility left? You have
No. Hey, we're only 4-7. I don't think I'm going to solve some of those problems. Okay.
I don't know. You good in the corner? You good in the
Yeah,
corner?
you know what? I don't think I'm picking up Lipsy 80 feet away from the basket on Sunday at Hilton Coliseum.
We'll just Kevin Love you. We'll just put you in the Kevin Love spot. Just sit in there, scream at the top of your lungs.
Am I going to be taller? Am I going to be a baller?
Kind of tall.
If I got on a roll, would I be a shot caller?
Oh, attaboy. Shot caller, 20-inch rims, only in power. Hey, you can't pull. Look, there's a lot of things I'm young about. R&B and 70s rock ain't nothing young about McMaster. Ain't nothing young.
Oh, I thought you were going to keep going.
No, I'm
because
done.
Swisher Rolled Tight got us sprayed by Ike. I hit the highway making money, then flyway. But hey, there's got to be a better way, a better way, a better way. Yeah, I'm a baller. I'm a 20-inch crawler. That's going to talk to Mike Schaefer coming up next on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.
I'm running and I'm so far from my home.
That is
Mama, I can hear you crying. You're so scared and all alone. Hangman is coming down from the gallows and stop.
Oh, you like the Steelers over the Eagles this weekend. I see where you're going there. All right, last hour. This is a great song, especially if you're at a Steelers game and they start playing this and the terrible
Now you
towels
can
are
do the
rolling.
Steelers, yes.
Yes, there you go.
Put 'em up. Gary, put 'em up. You better put them up. Put them up. There you go. Jimmy?
I thought he was going to put up a different finger, but okay.
What's that? Why are
It's a 4.
Why are you putting up 3, Gary?
It's a.
Then you know I'm missing a digit?
He's chasing 3.
Yeah.
Get it?
Let's welcome in before this goes completely off the rails, Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Good morning, Schaefer.
Just requesting the intro music there, but
Sorry, Schaefer, say that again. We didn't see you. You weren't plugged in properly. Say that again.
man, everything's a mess today. I was wondering if I should go back to requesting the intro bed music when I come on again.
Yes, that is your thing.
Yeah, you should. I'm sorry. That was my request in that.
That was all Matt.
Mike. That
he
was
asked
all me.
very nicely, and I couldn't let him down.
No, that's fine. I before we get too far into this, I do want to congratulate Matt on this role that he has now achieved, and I look forward to verbally sparring with him every Friday for the rest of eternity.
Mikey, it's great talking to you, my man. There's no sparring here. I concede that the Vikings are what I thought the Bears would be this year, and the Bears are what I thought the Vikings would be. And I'm just going to lay down my sword, and I'll see you next season, okay?
All right, well, we can pick that up in the off season.
We'll pick it up in the off season. Your quarterback is overrated, and your team isn't going to go very far, but we'll pick it back up in the off season.
How can my quarterback be overrated when nobody wanted him?
Everyone's just flaying. Oh my God, Sam! Oh my God, Sam! MVP Sam! He's so great. He's so cute. USC Sam! Oh my God! Oh my God! That's okay.
It would have nothing to do with his literal on-field performance. It's just what Colin Cowherd is saying. That's what I understand from you.
Listen, don't worry, man. We'll watch.
He loves him some Colin Cowherd.
I am a Colin.
Which explains a lot. I'm learning in this week. You have the best head coach in the division, in my opinion, in Kevin O'Connell.
By far. So I didn't say anything bad about your coach. Your coach is awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's between him and Dan Campbell for the best post-game speeches in locker rooms. Mm-hmm. Those guys they're very good at it. But if you notice, they're using note cards. So I don't know how we feel about that. Like, should it be more extemporaneous from them? Should their note cards be taken away? Or do you feel like this is more performative?
I think it's more performative. I think he's going with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's writing these down before he gets on air, but gets to the guys. I think this is from the heart.
I think there's an element of that. I don't know. Maybe it's just the statistics that are on the note card, but I've noticed it from both of those guys now, and they're very good at what they do.
Now, do you if it is written out though? Like let's be honest here. If it is like written out and acted upon before they get to the locker room, does it really matter if it gets the wanted effect you're looking for? Like if it rallies the troops and the guys love it, does it matter if you practiced it in your mirror before you went to the locker room?
But I think we all want to believe that it's just like this thing that sort of comes out at the end of the emotional 60-minute battle that's a football game.
Sure.
But the reality is it's probably not necessarily rehearsed, but it certainly isn't just like spur of the moment.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But hey, great content.
We retired Calabraska. We've got Flobraska rolling. Are we going to do KC Aska, or are we going KC Huskers here?
I don't know. That's a
best question you're going to be asked all day.
Can-Braska? Can-Braska?
Can-Braska. I think KC Huskers is probably the safest. It kind of fits because then in that way you get both Kansas City Kansas and Kansas City, Missouri, without offending one side or another, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable that it has flipped as hard as it has, an area that Nebraska usually has struggled in here in the last, I don't know, decade or so, really since John Garrison left. I don't think Nebraska's been particularly good in the state of, Kansas or Missouri as it relates to the kind of Kansas City and the suburbs that surround the area. I mean, John Garrison was a huge part of finding and unearthing some really talented guys in the Bo Pelini era. And then you move on to Mike Riley, and they certainly went into Kansas City, and they had Mario Goodrich committed, Bo Wilson, and Javion McQuitty. And then after that, when Ryan Held got here, you thought Nebraska would go right back into Kansas City with success, and they never did. And here's the part that I think.
And you're right. Hey, Shafe, you were right. Ryan's a Kansas City guy too. Yeah,
Right.
That's a good call.
For the, they put effort into it initially, and then it was just like, we'll get players elsewhere. And, at that same time, roughly 2017, 2018, you look at the teams that started going into Kansas City, or the teams that have always gone into Kansas City, and you start to notice Kansas State playing really good football, Iowa State playing really good football, Wisconsin starts pulling players every year out of Kansas City, Michigan and Jim Harbaugh love to go into Kansas City, Oklahoma going into Kansas City. Like it's all of these other teams that are winning a bunch of football games are going into the closest metro area to Lincoln, Nebraska. And Nebraska isn't pulling anyone from there. And no one's interested in their program, despite it being 2.5 hours away from some of the suburbs. And so to me, it's a huge, huge deal that Jamar Mosey is involved and has helped flip that area, because I think there's a lot of talent there. I think you can get 2 to 3 players a year, and hopefully that 2 to 3 turns into really solid contributors and in some cases stars, and you build back what should have been an obvious, easy pipeline for all of eternity.
So, Mike, like you said, you brought up Jamar Mosey. That guy's been massive in order to get these KC Huskers, and not only in high school recruiting, but now transfer portal recruiting. And it's kind of flipped the momentum of the program after losing to Iowa. Let's go to more transfer portal targets. Rule yesterday, for the first time really in his tenure, was like, look, we're going to embrace the transfer portal. Like we have to go and get guys. And he talked about how just things are changing, the philosophy is changing, and so they're going to be aggressive in this portal to try and replace some of the pieces that they've been losing with the departure of Knighton and White. So, who are some guys that we should be looking for that are visiting, that are guys that are on the radar? Just kind of give us the skinny here. Who are some of the names that could end up being Huskers in the future?
Well, they just had Jonah Pace on campus here. On I want to say it was Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday, Jonah Pace was here. They've got a handful of wide receivers that have shown interest. Here's the problem, Matt and Gary. Sorry, I should include both of you on this. In the current age of the transfer portal, an agent or even a player tells you that they're taking a visit. It's all incredibly fluid. Like it's honestly really hard to determine if a guy is actually going to come in and make it in for a visit, because you have cases like the Graham linebacker from Florida State, who was all set to follow Phil Simpson visit Nebraska. He's going to go to Kansas. And then he was able to renegotiate a deal with Florida State and stayed with the Seminoles. You have, guys who have fly-by-night agent operations that are telling everyone where these visits are, and it turns out they're not even talking with the schools that are in question. And so there's actual people that Nebraska is recruiting, and some of them aren't going to be, as big of names as what you want, but they've got a punter coming in from Washington this weekend, or maybe is in here today, a long snapper from New Hampshire. There's a kind of reserve offensive lineman from Michigan who is high on Nebraska's radar. Cameron Olds is an outside linebacker from, I believe, Kent State, is coming in for a visit. And I think this is all going to kind of ramp up and pick up as we get into the next week. But it's been kind of fascinating to me how wildly different this portal season is compared to previous ones. Like it feels like the entire model has just been shattered, and it is the biggest free-for-all money grab
Yeah.
that honestly I've ever seen. And it feels like we're just heading to where this thing gets so broken that the people involved have to collectively work together to put it back together. Like, and I don't mean to be fear-mongering, but this is not a sustainable way for anyone involved in this sport to see the sport go forward.
No, and let's hope the craziness of this year is just a one-year thing with the cut down to 105. But I'm in agreement with you. This is not sustainable. From Nebraska's perspective, would you rather have a top 5 high school recruiting class or a top 5 portal class with the current setup? The current setup being the current staff.
I would always take the top 5 high school class. I mean, I'm just going to bet on those evaluations and that talent over sort of the guessing of a top 5, transfer portal class. Like, didn't we just watch Florida State add a bunch of talent after they went 13-0 and then they went 2-10? So it's like, I just have a stronger belief that you're still going to be better off. Like you have to be able to use the portal. Like you have to be able to do both. Like I'm not saying that you shouldn't use the portal, but I just have a stronger belief in the ability to go get a top 5 recruiting class and try to foster and nurture and develop that going forward. And you're going to lose some pieces from it, but you're not going to lose everything versus, the top 5 portal class. And honestly, it's just kind of going to depend on where you are as a program. I think for Nebraska right now, they would trade a top 5 high school recruiting class for a top 5 portal class, even if maybe the portal class gets them 1 or 2 more wins in the 2025 season. I just think long-term, they would be so much better off if you were able to recruit at a top 5 high school level rather than, the gamble that is the transfer portal.
So, Mike, you kind of talked about this thing is the absolute wild. Well, here's the thing. We called this thing the Wild Wild West last year, and somehow it got more wild this year with just how everything has been moving, which seemed quite impossible. What are and I'm kind of making you the commissioner here and putting the big thinking cap on you, but like, what are some of the things that you would do or you would try and implement in order to make this more cohesive and to make it more of a linear, fluid type situation and just easier on everybody?
Yeah, I mean, you would have asked me this several years ago, I would have scoffed at the idea of contracts, but I think that's sort of what has to happen.
Yeah.
Because I think that there has to be some level of structure that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah.
And the hard part is the answer that would have made the most sense before the United States government got involved in it would be the restriction of transfers. Because frankly, what kills this sport right now, and when I say kills this sport, like when they go to play the playoff games, I'm going to be watching like everybody else, and it's going to be enjoyable. When they actually play games, the sport is as vibrant and as alive as everything else.
Love me some Saturdays
of the year. Yeah, and it's just it's everything else that sort of just sucks the life out of it. But the fact that you could transfer every single year of your career is just completely and utterly. Like it will make for a horrible viewing experience. The amount of sort of guys that we've already seen that have been to 3 schools and are back in the portal again. There has to be some way to combat this. And now I know that, like I said, we've already gotten the government involved, and so you can't restrict free movement. And yet at the same time, there has to be a way that if someone has transferred multiple times, they lose a year of eligibility or something. Like you just can't allow that aspect to dominate so much of what's going on in this sport. And I think you want to avoid mercenary football. It's one thing if we're talking about a 32-year-old NFL cornerback that, Patrick Peterson, he finishes up his run with the Cardinals and then he's just kind of moved from team to team to team as long as he can play and grab a 1-year, $7 million contract. But that's a totally different thing to me than, a guy who has a nice year at Kent State, gets into the portal, moves up to Indiana, has a great year at Indiana, decides he wants to parlay that into Notre Dame, has a so-so year at Notre Dame and he's getting pushed out, so now he's got to go to Northwestern. Like, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
How it is for you, Matt, because you're younger than I am, and I'm younger than Gary is, and I fall right in the middle of us. But there was something amazing about growing up where you knew a guy who was a sophomore was going to be on your roster as a junior, and you got to see the fruits of the labor and the work that they put in. And I feel like the sport loses that the closer it gets to just mercenary football. Well, I hate being the doomsday sayer of this.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to see the sport completely devolve into this.
Well, I think, Mike, like, for me, I was a massive fan of the NBA growing up. Like, that was my league. That's what I watched. That's what I loved. But as time moved on, right, we started getting these super teams and we started getting these superstars hopping from team to team. And it was almost like every 2 years, it was a completely different Bulls team that I was rooting for, right? Especially after like the Derrick Rose era. And there wasn't any of those players on the Bulls that I could latch onto and love because they were always moving. And I think the NBA has fallen in popularity because of that. And I think that what you're talking about is a little bit of a similar model where it's like you can't watch guys come on, be a freshman, right? Not play. Then sophomore year, they're a little bit on special teams. Then their junior year, they're a starter. Then their senior year, they're a superstar. There's no more, you're not great. There's no heartfelt strings like you were talking about. There's no more just connection to that player because you know what? They're here 1 year. You're really excited that they came. They're a 4-star prospect. Man, he's going to do some great things for us. And then all of a sudden he transfers to Michigan. And it's like, oh, so well for that. And then it makes fans not want to get excited about high school recruits that they really, really like coming to their team because they don't know if they're going to ever play for their team.
Yeah, and the other thing it does is it creates insane expectations for every single year for every player.
Yes.
Like, Nebraska just picked up Williams Danwinery yesterday, and if you ask any Missouri fan, he's a massive bust because as a freshman, as a 19-year-old, he didn't dominate in the SEC. He struggled. I don't know, Gary, do you remember Sue when he was 19 years old?
Yeah, he was just a guy.
Yeah. Or did it take him until, I don't know, the back half of his junior year before he went from like a day 3 NFL pick to being one of the best players in the country? Like we're on this insane instant gratification trajectory where, and we saw this at times with Dylan Raiola, where there's people that just completely feel like he's a failed prospect because he's had a bunch of bad games in the middle of his freshman season. Yeah. Like there's no grace left for this anymore. Everything has to happen immediately, and it's only going to make player movement worse until they can figure out a way to slow it down. Like I would not want to be a college coach right now trying to figure out how you keep all of these guys happy, how you have to work within the NIL structure. It is a very, very difficult job. I do think Nebraska has a good benefit with Matt Rule having been an NFL coach because I think that matters, and working in that environment and having an understanding of that environment matters more than ever.
Hey, we'll get chat. Yeah.
If you have someone who has been in that would be a lot more difficult. Sorry.
Hey, we'll get chatter on this because this has been a busy week for the defensive line. The addition yesterday, addition of a position coach. In 9 months, and there may be a name or two added to this, if Nebraska rolled out on the defensive line, Judy, Van Poppel, Lenhart, Davis, Winery, even Simpson, who I really like in this recruiting class. I'm leaving Tyson Terry out because he's going to have to get that knee fixed. And you add another body, but maybe not on the level of the expectations or what Winery is going to bring. How would you feel about the defensive line?
I feel like I'm going to be fine. And part of that is I just have such a strong trust in Matt Rule and his defensive lines throughout his career. As much as it's unfortunate to lose Terrence Knighton, I look at the work that happened, and you give a lot of credit to Knighton. But who coached Knighton and who trained Knighton to coach that way, and who's got the wealth of experience as a defensive line coach throughout his career, who's always had good defensive lines at every stop, whether it was the NFL or in college, Temple or Baylor. I just think Matt Rule is a guy who knows defensive line play at a really high level, can coach it, can train his coaches to coach it, and can get the best out of his players. And you guys know how I feel about Riley Van Poppel. I think he's a future star. And so I think I'm still going to have confidence in that defensive line. You remember how we talked about the defensive line before 2023? And there was all this skittish nature and concern. These guys hadn't cashed in. They hadn't, Ty Robinson hadn't been
Ty
good.
Nash.
Hutmaker hadn't been good enough. And then now it's, what are we going to do about Ty? What are we going to do about Nash?
Yeah.
I think you got to have some confidence that Matt Rule is going to have those guys in that position group in particular in a good spot. I think there's more than enough talent. It's just going to be how quickly can Terry Braden, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, how quickly he can kind of come in and pick things up from Rule and how they can get that room together. But I believe that the defensive line will be solid, and I think it'll always be solid under Matt Rule.
Hey, great stuff, Shape. Have a great weekend. Always appreciate it. You guys have been killing it with everything going on this week.
Ray, I really appreciate it, guys. And again, I don't want to be the doomsayer for college football, but it's been a rough 2 weeks with the transfer portal and everything else. And this is such an unsustainable thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mikey. Appreciate it.
Shape. All right, Matt Verzal is going to stop by here in a little bit. One of the things going on this weekend with all the basketball, the volleyball, the football, life in general, Christmas parties, everything else you're going to do, Omaha Hockey wraps up their first part of the season. They play Lindenwood, who is from St. Louis, if you did not know.
I did know, but thank you.
I did know.
So it's the final series. Omaha Hockey has kind of righted the ship a little bit. We got what do we got, Jimmy? 4 tickets to give away?
4 or 6. I need to check my email. I think it's 6.
We're going to give away a lot of tickets to tonight's game at Baxter Arena against Lindenwood. The first correct caller, so in this turnaround for Omaha, where they played better hockey in the last 3 weeks, they won a big game Friday night on the road against number 9 St. Cloud State.
It's 6 tickets.
6 tickets. So you and Fine 5 friends can go to Omaha Hockey tonight, courtesy of Gary and Matt and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Be the first caller and tell us that win on Friday night. Who scored the game-winning goal in overtime? Who scored the game-winning goal in overtime for Omaha to upset number 9 St. Cloud State last Friday night? Because this Friday, you and 5 of your friends are going to see Omaha and Lindenwood at Baxter Arena. 402-951-1620, 402-951-1620. Matt Verzal stops by after this.
Verza.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Every day I'm hustling.
Come on, Matt.
Matt Verza.
Matt.
You're listening to the Gary and Matt Show here on 1620, and we are joined every Friday by former Husker offensive lineman and national champion Matt Verzel. Matt, how you doing, my man?
Good, Chief. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, it's been a crazy, hectic week for Husker football, the transfer portal, guys heading in, guys heading out, National Signing Day, everything that's happened so far, Matt. What's your biggest takeaway from just the craziness that's been going around over in Lincoln?
Just kind of the status quo. It is what it is. I mean, that's just what college football is now, and we'll have to adjust to the rapidly changing. Is that about right?
Yeah, no, Gary was just fumbling with a pen, and that
Okay.
just, yeah,
We had
it was
the rapidly changing landscape. Would like to see Nebraska get back to the forefront of being innovative and creating and, kind of doing things that are out there already, like Stanford and North Carolina hiring general managers and head coaches. But, it is what it is. We're a little reactionary with things, and we'll see what happens.
Good morning, Verz. The transition will look like what to be a pretty good athlete in Heinrich Harburg, who has been a quarterback most of his life. Now he's going to transition into a tight end. How is that going to look, and what will it take to not just be a man in the room, but to be somebody that can be relied on as a tight end in 25?
Oh, that's a great question. As far as like play concepts and things that are expected as far as like assignment goes, he shouldn't have a problem with it, because you should know that at quarterback, all the quarterbacks should know what everybody's doing at any given time on the offensive side of the ball. The physicality of it, that'll be the biggest adjustment. Having somebody directly in front of you that you have to block or you have to avoid to get out in a route will be something to watch. But kid's crazy athletic, obviously loyal to Nebraska, which in these days and times isn't always the most common thing. So happy to see him making the move to a different position, and we'll see what comes.
Matt, a lot has been made about the defensive line, right? With Terrence Knighton leaving, Tony White leaving. We've been talking D-line over and over again and the need for them to go and get guys. But I love asking you offensive line questions because you just have so much experience, in your playing time. You look at that unit, they're going to lose some couple guys too to graduation. Do you think that's a position that they also need to go out and get some help there? Or would you prefer that Nebraska kind of builds up this offensive line just with high school guys who knows their system and bring them up, and even if it means playing them a little bit younger?
Well, I would love option 2 if option 2 would happen.
Yeah.
We like to anchor 5 in there and go regardless of what the situation is. But, I understand that side of the equation as well, that you want to make sure those guys know you trust them and that you're going to give them every opportunity to succeed. The way I would, if I was a coach right now in college, the way I would view the portal, I would have at least 2 staff designated to the portal at all times. Like who is in there, who's where. Yeah. Almost have an evaluation of other players' rosters, or maybe a better way to do it would be anybody that we had recruited before in the cycle. If they come back out, into the portal, then we have to. But you have to take the portal as a chance to get better at every position. You have to be honest with yourself in evaluation and say, hey, we have X, Y, and Z. And if I go out and get this kid, I know we're going to be better at that spot. It's no disrespect to Billy or Johnny or Tommy or whoever it is, but it's like we got to get better, and we got to get better now. And they're giving us the opportunity with these kids entering into Portalville, but we'll see how that all gets handled.
Hey, instead of coming out of Grand Island as a offensive lineman, you come out of Grand Island as a quarterback. You want to go out of state, and you have Bill Belichick and Deion Sanders throwing the same amount of NIL bag at you as a quarterback in 2025. who would you select? North Carolina or Colorado?
Am I still being coached by Ken Fisher?
Unfortunately, no, but that would be,
But he's not my high school coach?
He is not your high school coach.
Okay. Because the reason I ask is this: if he is my high school coach, then I'm going to Belichick, because I know that expectation of me is very high, and I can probably take an ass chewing, and it's not going to bother me that much. But he's going to teach me things not only behind the scenes of like what I'm going to need to do to prepare to be a professional quarterback, which would be my end goal. But, some of those other things, Dion, I don't mind at all what Colorado does. I just don't know what the quarterback position looks like for somebody there when it's not his son. They've been running that scheme since he was in Little League. So I mean that would be something and there'd probably be a discussion I would have with him. But that at this time, I would say probably lean toward Belichick.
I don't know how much of the Matt Rule press conference you caught yesterday, Matt, but I something that caught my eye was he was saying basically, look, there are some guys who can enter the portal and they can't come back, and there are some guys who can't enter the portal and we want them back. And frankly, sometimes guys just need to leave. Even the guys that they brought in, that they recruited to be a part of the program, they need to leave, and even some of the coaches that they brought in, they need to leave too. What do you think about him just being so blunt and just saying out to everybody like, hey, just because I brought you in here doesn't mean it's going to be all, sunshine and rainbows?
It's more a question to me, like, why is that? Like, when we get to the point in the world where honesty is a rarity, is kind of a crazy thing to me, because number one, if the statement, hey, they need to go out and see, but we want them back, that's 100% a leverage play. It's like, hey, you're staying here, but you want more cake, so go out there, say you're leaving, get your leverage to go and negotiate a better deal. And let's get you some more money, get you back in here and get things done. Like, that's straight up the only way I can see that thing going. There were guys that were just told, hey, you can come back here. And this is when I played. You can come back. You ain't going to play. So good luck. You decide what you want to do. So it's just you're being honest with the player. And at the end of the day, that's all the player wants you to be, is honest with them. They just don't want to be – they want BS. Just be honest with me. And coaches, the moment gets too big for some coaches. Some come here with the vision of being a head coach and going away, and then they go back to where they came from. So it is what it is. No sweat off anybody's back. It's just that's the way things work.
Yeah, that's the way things work in life. Verz, as always, appreciate it. Thanks for the insight. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, boys, be good.
Thank you, Matt.
That's Matt Verzal. You can follow him on Twitter at Verz51. We have a winner in our 6 tickets to go see Omaha and Lindenwood play tonight at Baxter Arena. You also are going to be required to dress in a toga because it is toga night.
Nice.
You were mentioned. Yeah, you were mentioned earlier this week, Matt. Your dad is a huge fan of Animal House.
Yes,
I'm sure you guys have had your own personal toga parties in the McMaster household.
I told him that I went to a toga party in college, and he was very excited about it. He thought it was very cool.
How did your toga party end?
Not in my bed.
Okay.
To be fair, a lot of nights can end not in your bed.
So in comparison to your toga party in college to the characters in Animal House, like, were you Belushi?
Oh.
Were you the guy that was sitting on the steps going upstairs that was playing his guitar? I mean, what character were you in your first toga party?
My first toga party? Probably Belushi, yeah. It was probably just ratting around. Not doing a whole lot, chilling out.
So you were more Bluto than Otter?
I don't get these right. I didn't say that I was an expert on Animal House. I've just watched it a couple times. I can't. I can't
Somebody
relate.
needs to
It's been
watch
a
it this
while.
afternoon before his
It's been
night
a
on the
while.
town.
You put me on the spot. Oh,
So it's Toga Party night tonight at Baxter Arena. And the winner, Jimmy, of our tickets?
Tim. Congratulations, Tim. He and 5 of his buddies or 5 strangers. He didn't specify, but he's a big fan of the show.
heck yeah. Have fun, man. Do they have like a beer night over at Omaha at the Mav games
always
or
beer
anything
night.
like that?
Right?
The beer
My
is
drummer-
always flowing. Periodically, they will have cheap beer night.
My drummer people.
I'm gonna
shout
be
out.
honest with you. When I officially move out here, I cannot wait to go to Mavericks games.
They're fun.
Cannot wait. I played hockey for a very long time. For those who don't know, hockey player growing up, love hockey. Omaha's awesome. Can't wait to do it.
Sam had the game-winning goal against St. Cloud State on a Friday night. That was a good back-and-forth game. Scored in overtime as Omaha won. They're playing much better hockey. So, Tim, enjoy tonight with your buddies at Baxter Arena. We'll come back. We'll close out the first week of Gary and Matt with some final thoughts. Great sports weekend, whether it be volleyball, because by the time we come back, we may have a Nebraska-Creighton semifinal, and then also huge weekend for the blue, black, and red Nebraska when it comes to Hoopsville. That's all to come in the final segment of the first week of the Gary and Matt Show on 1620 The Zone. This has been a banger of a day when it comes to music.
It's been incredible.
Yes.
Also, DJ Chavez on the beat.
DJ Chavez could have been playing at Capital Cigars in Lincoln last night, and you'd look over, and there's the Indiana head basketball coach, Mike Woodson, stopped by for a cigar and some chat about basketball with people that were at Capital Cigars last night.
Really?
Kansas City Kings,
Yeah,
great.
man, he's I don't know, he got some challenges in Indiana, and I'm not sure how well he's liked at Indiana, especially when they spend a lot of money in the offseason and they're not playing up to that level. But that man likes a good cigar. He is an NBA pro through and through.
I do too. I like a good cigar too. What do you got? Sorry.
Well, I will introduce you to a place here in Omaha.
Dude, I love that. I love there's a place called Cigars and Jake's over in Lincoln. And those are my two spots. I mean, they're the only Cliff's is okay too, but I like Jake's and Cigars.
I'm familiar with that. Good. I like this. All right. We will have a little cigar and a little cocktail.
I would love
cognac.
that. I would love that.
Have you been following Nebraska track and field of late? They're very popular. They're also very successable on the track.
They're great at track. I actually have some friends on the team. And so
Jessica Gardner, Megan Walker?
No. I have met them. But my friend is Josh Marcy. He's a former thrower on the team, 2-time Big Ten champion. He's a walk-on. Josh worked his butt off for years, nearly got cut, kept on the team, kept going at it. He's an awesome dude. And so, yeah, I've gotten to know a couple of those guys. Also, my friend Trevor Acton is a distance runner there.
Okay.
They're both awesome.
That sounds like a miserable thing to do.
He's an athlete, dude. He's an athlete. My friend Trevor.
I would be a sprinter more than a distance guy.
Do you know what I would be? I'd be a great water boy for track. That's what I would be. I ain't doing any of that. But yeah,
Jessica.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know Jessica Gardner?
Yes, obviously.
She's very popular on social media.
Yes.
Also very successful. The next in line is Megan Walker, who is currently a track and field athlete, and not for much longer, because she is going to make the transition into WWE.
Good for her, man.
I saw this. She met Triple H.
I'll tell you right now, for those who are unaware of it, NXT is the developmental program for WWE. They've been the developmental. It used to be.
Was there a Wii in there? Wii?
No. There used to be Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW, and then it turned into NXT. And NXT is a product that goes. It's a developmental program, but it's a product that goes on. I don't know what channel it's on, but it's on every Tuesday. Is it the CW?
Yeah, I think it's on the CW. NXT is on CW.
Yeah. So she'll be on TV probably in 6 to 8 months if training goes well. It's a heck of a program, and she's a really good athlete, and they do a really good job over there at the WWE recruiting athletes and recruiting people that they think can fit their mold and be on television, and she certainly fits that mold according to them. And so there's actually just a post of her with Triple H, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but he also is the head guy over at WWE. So big accomplishment for her and great publicity for Nebraska track and field and Nebraska in general.
TikTok has done more to Nebraska track and field than Gary Pepin.
I believe you. I mean, it's track and field is definitely one of those. Track and field is one of those sports where it's popular for the Olympics and whatnot, and the people who do track and field are true athletes. I mean, there's no surprise that there are track and field athletes who are on the football team, right? I mean, they are. It's all about true athletics, and it's a little disappointing it took TikTok, for them to get their proper recognition. But hey, no one's complaining here, and good for them. Look, I know you're trying to transition the show in a certain place, but I've had this question that I've been wanting to ask you. Okay, about football, and I want your opinion. And I think it's a useful thing to talk about here on the show before we get out. I know we don't have too much time, but yesterday at the Matt Rule press conference, which we didn't fully dive into, Rule said Dylan's the guy. Just said it plain and simple. Dylan's the dude. But now Heinrich is going to be a tight end. So, and Danny Kalen has now transferred. He's in the transfer portal. Is Luke Longville the quarterback here? Like their backup? Are you still on the train if they need to get another dude? Like, where do you
yes.
Like
they also need a decision from Gramstad what he would like to do.
Yeah.
Because I think they would like to have him in their quarterback room, but they need another they need a portal quarterback. But they don't need a portal quarterback in late December or early January. They could probably make it through where then they need that portal quarterback in April where maybe their choices would be a little bit better.
Okay.
They don't need a frontline guy.
I just needed your insight and your expertise on it because I totally agree with you. And I needed to get that question out to you before we hit the road.
But Dylan started all 12 games. What are you talking about, Matt? He's fine. He's going to start every game. He will never get hurt.
You're only as good as your backup quarterback.
That's what they say. And now Nebraska's backup quarterback is going to play tight end next year.
Yep.
What does that say?
Exactly.
What's that say about Nebraska football?
Not a whole lot.
16-20. All right. As we wrap up the first week, would you like to call your shot on anything that's going to happen this weekend that will come to fruition when we reconvene at 6 a.m. on Monday morning? Anything in the sports world, locally, nationally, globally? Personally?
I'll call it. No. I'll do local right now. I'm going to try and go 4-0 here. I'm going to try and go 4-0. Creighton women's volleyball picks up a win over Texas. Nebraska women's volleyball picks up a win over Dayton. Husker men's basketball loses to Indiana. Creighton men's basketball beats Alabama on the road. They pull off a big upset on the road. I'll try and go 4-0. Husker volleyball win, Creighton volleyball win, Nebraska Cornhusker loss, Creighton basketball win tomorrow night.
Playing to your audience. You've learned very well in your first week on the show. Jimmy?
I say 3-1. The only team that will not win will be Creighton men's basketball, and Bishop gets into it with Big Al. That's the main battle.
He has a meltdown in Tuscaloosa. He won't come back from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
You try going 4-0. Where are you at?
No, I'm not going to go 4-0. I'm just going to go. I'm going to put it out there, and I'm going to go bigger and better than either one of you.
Sure.
When we come back on Monday, Nebraska Creighton will be getting set to play in the semifinals of the volleyball Final Four in Louisville, Kentucky.
Nice. I like it, man. I like it. It's a good prediction.
All right, you going to come back on Monday? Do
you want me back on Monday,
Jimmy?
He should come back.
Okay, you can come back.
I enjoy the company.
Hey, how about first week, man? Really appreciate it. This was fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining the show. We are glad to have you.
Happy
looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, hey, Keurig is it's already on my bookmark here. I gotta get on Amazon after this.
And the people that are hitting me up because you're so cheap and you wouldn't buy lunch for them until you got paid, you're about to have lunch with about 6 people.
Hey, I cannot wait. Where are we going? That's my question. I love food, man. Just like I told Baker Hansen, love food. Love food.
All right, that'll put a wrap on the show. You're going to stick around for the crossover. I'm going to go out into 6-degree weather in Waterloo, Iowa, and maybe go down to the John Deere Tractor Museum.
Hey, have a great call, man. I'll see you on Monday, all right?
Thank you. We're back in on Monday morning at 6 for Jimmy, for Matt. I'm Gary. Crossover's coming up next. Enjoy a great sports weekend. Make memories. Be safe out there. And don't forget to live, laugh, and punt with Gary and Matt and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.